Well, hello, everybody. Welcome to Crimes
Live
and
Alibis.
Alibis. Okay, our very special guests are just running a tad bit late. So we're going to say hi to everybody. So let's see who we have here. Bob, hi. Bob Bone, nice to meet you. I think you've been here before. Or I saw you in one of the other chats. Katie, hello. Deanna, hello. Secret Squirrel, my new buddy. Secret Squirrel's been passing the word around, and they are coming. They are coming. Um,
So there's
awesome.
some busy
Yeah,
women.
Bob Bong seems to. That's where I knew that name. He was in. Might have been Law Talk with Mike's chat. Okay, we have Peggy, Sten, Stacy. I know, right? I can't wait to get them started too. Um, please don't mind Nightbot here. I can't seem to figure out how to work it, so stuff is just going to come up every so often. So, those of you who are like Law Talk with Mike fans and Debbie Davis fans and Natalie Lawyer Chick fans, are you guys also, into the true crime community, or is that, something you tend to stay away from or know anything about? Oh, it looks like we have a special guest. Boom! Hello, Miss Natalie.
Hi.
Hi. We're still waiting, as you know, on Miss Debbie Davis.
On Debbie, yeah.
Yeah. So excited
I'm
to have
Danny.
you guys. Yeah,
Hi,
I'm
nice to
sorry,
meet
that's
you.
Danny.
Nice to meet you.
I'm sorry, I'm just a terrible, terrible host.
I'm trying to find the link for your live so I can share it to my community page.
How do you do that? Oh, you mean just to your community page?
Yeah.
I thought
Can
somebody
you
had
email
done
me
that.
the link that of the live stream you have right now on YouTube?
Sure.
Okay.
Oh, wait, that would be, yikes. Okay.
Oh, this is so close. You choose the close angle.
Oh, you mean there's more? There's other angles?
Oh yeah,
Right?
where you're not like so close up on the camera.
Oh my gosh, we need to talk.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's like down where it says like mute and stop cam and everything. There's like a 3-person view, and then like if you click the 2-person view one, it usually you'll see everyone, but it'll make it smaller. Like
Really?
so you're not so close to the screen. Mm-hmm.
Let me see. Oh, you mean like
Yay.
that? Okay. Gotcha. Okay, I'm emailing this to you now.
Awesome.
Okay.
My daughter drew all over our screen right before we started. So I'm like, oh.
Oh, are you live right now?
Yes, we are live.
Oh.
We
Hi.
are live. Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry.
You have nothing to apologize for, please.
Well, I think most of these people so far are friends subs of yours and Debbie's. You got Secret Squirrel. I know Secret Squirrel belongs to you. Maybe.
Oh, I think so.
Yeah. Okay. So there's Bob Bong and Katie, Deanna Roberts, Peggy.
I want to tell all my people to come over here.
And Secret Squirrel has been really making the rounds too. I'll tell you what. He even, or is it a she? Do we know Secret Squirrel? He or she? Yeah, you do watch Natalie. Sandy and Emily Norb. Hi.
Oh, I found the link. I found it. Let's get everyone over here because I didn't even do my live stream this week.
I know you didn't.
Yeah.
You know what somebody did?
What?
Wasn't very nice, Natalie.
Huh.
And you're a lawyer. Maybe you can find them and sue them for us. So I put that you were going to be here on one of your community posts, or no, one of your
Yeah.
one of your videos,
Yeah.
and somebody took it down like that.
Oh no.
I couldn't believe it. It was like literally that fast.
Well,
And
yeah,
I did
YouTube,
not link.
That might have been YouTube. YouTube is good for that.
Yeah, but I didn't link. I didn't put a link.
You didn't
I know
put a
better.
link.
Nope. Because I know better. And my name has, crimes, lies, and alibis in it.
Yeah.
So I thought, YouTube people know. So one of your mods did you a solid. They just didn't realize.
Yeah.
So we won't sue them. Y'all, we won't sue y'all.
I wonder who did that. Yeah, well, I do know a lot of times I'll get comments from people saying, why did you delete my comment? And I'm like, I've never seen your comment, I promise you. Or sometimes I'll get a notification from YouTube saying such and such has commented on your video. And I try to go and look at the comment and it's gone already. And I used to think it was the person commenting that deleted their comment. But now I know that it's not. It's sometimes the YouTube algorithm kicks in, and this is not what happened with you, but it's a lot of times YouTube algorithm will kick in and just steal a comment. Like they'll just be like, nope, can't see that. And sometimes they'll be saying like, oh, this guy in your video was such a jerk. And YouTube will just be like, no, you can't say jerk. It's out of here.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it was really fast. So, it was either you two. I didn't think for a second it was you.
Oh yeah, it wasn't me. I mean, I would love for people to know that I'm here.
that's kind of what I thought.
Yeah.
And, I said in case your peeps want to come over, but they might have thought that I was just plugging myself.
Yeah, I don't know what that was all about, but I do know that Mrs. Kick and I are trying to schedule like a little mod get together so we can talk about like, when this chat gets kind of spicy, what we really should be doing, because some people have like made up their own rules and they're not listening to me. So I'm hoping to like tamp it down so that we can all be, just nice to each other.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I was just watching your live you did on the Rittenhouse trial.
Yeah.
And you were like, okay, I have to add mods because this is getting a little spicy down there.
Yeah.
And they were saying, my mods were saying they needed help last time. So
yeah,
you were modding everybody up. And that's the perfect trial for that. Hi.
Hey, everybody. Tardy to the party. Typical for me. Sorry.
It happens to me all the time.
Oh, God, what a fun night.
It's okay.
It's part of being a mom, right?
I know, right? Pulled in so many directions.
Yes.
Yeah, and you're right, Bob Bong. He says it's hard. It's easy for the mods to get heavy-handed, and yeah, sometimes that's true. So it was kind of funny when I first approached Natalie. Natalie gets back, well, I'd love to, but I want you to know I'm a defense attorney, not a prosecutor. And I'm like, I know. I've only been subscribed for a long time now. I know. But I appreciated that, though. I did.
Sure.
But to have both a prosecutor and a defense attorney, I thought would be kind of cool to from both and either perspective with certain, situations, because what might be good for one would really suck for the other. So anyway, for those of you who do not know, there is Debbie Davis we have here. She is an assistant prosecuting attorney in St. Joe County, Michigan.
Yeah.
And I'm sure if you know that much, you know that she works closely with Judge Middleton, who everybody became friends with during the panorama. And I got that word from Miss Natalie, defense attorney, which the very first time I heard you use panorama, thinking, what is she talking about? And then it was like, oh, that's such a nice way to say it. And then I not until I came on to do my own YouTube channel did I realize YouTube doesn't like you saying a lot of words.
No.
Yeah.
And I felt bad correcting, people that were trying to correct me, and sometimes like so lovingly, they would just be like, I don't know if you know, but then the word is like, the real word. And I was just like, I promise you that I know what the real word is. But unfortunately, especially in 2020, like it's 2022 now, but these videos were going up in 2020. I said, no, you don't understand. They will demonetize your video. Sometimes at the very beginning, they would snatch down your video. So I just, I was calling it the Panda Express, the Panorama, the Panasonic, like anything. So like, what I'm saying. I just can't say the word, this thing that's affecting all of us. I can't say it, but they've gotten a lot better. They're not perfect, but they've gotten a lot better at that.
Yeah. I love watching both of you, by the way. And I think Danny has as well.
I've been watching all day.
Yeah.
I was watching you work earlier today, Miss Debbie.
I mean, it was a long afternoon, let me tell you.
And an interesting end to the day.
Yeah, sometimes be like, what did you just do? I walked out of my office, like, who'd you just have arrested? Like, I didn't have anybody arrested.
Oh, I missed something. I missed something good.
You do the crime, you gotta do the time.
You gotta do your homework, right? And no, that's
Yeah. I think what people like watching so much with you, Debbie, is your eye rolls, or like the way you'll.
I used to get in so much trouble for rolling my eyes when I was younger, and now people like it. So that's all I want, and I don't get.
And it's like, wait for it. Wait for it. She's gonna roll her eyes.
Or the squint, like, wait, what? What did you just say?
Yeah.
Expressive eyes, I tell you.
Is it hard to keep y'all's emotions off of your face?
At times, yes. But at times, it's an effective tool for a jury or for the judge. And, there's things that you can't say in the courtroom, but you can express them. So, part of jury trials is playing to the jury. What does the jury feel like? And watching their facial expressions. It can give you an idea of, all right, they're not buying this, or, ooh, they're getting what my witness is saying, and kind of piggybacking off of that in your line of questioning to keep the jurors interested. Or if they've got like blank stares, you've lost them, and you better figure another way to get them interested again, because they're humans. It's not like they can, especially when you're talking a 2-week trial, trying to stay engaged, and there's points that you don't want them to miss, and some stuff is just like kind of boring. So you got to make sure that you're grabbing their attention at the right time.
Oh, I totally agree with that. I mean, the funny thing is that there are things that won't come across on the record. So if the case is like ever up for appeal, right? Like the feeling in the courtroom, the facial expressions that you make, the facial expressions the jury is making.
May the record reflect that Natalie has rolled her eyes.
Natalie has rolled her eyes, Your Honor. So But so, on reading a transcript, because I've done some appellate work, you don't really get that feeling for what the jury was thinking or what the judge was thinking at the time. But live and in person, you can ask a witness on cross-examination, a question, and like, let's say like you're impeaching somebody because they don't, they're saying that they don't remember. So you have to like refresh their recollection. Usually you just have to take the person's word for it that they don't remember. And then you refresh their recollection, and you don't get to fully impeach them by saying, didn't you say this previous thing before, making them look like a liar? But you can use your tone of voice to be like, oh, so this thing happened like, 3 months ago and you just don't remember it, right? And you need me to refresh your recollection. Would it help you to look at the paper? Would that help? You can't.
I've got a copy right here for you. Let me get that to you.
Yeah, exactly. Here you go. When you're reading the transcript back, that tone of voice is not going to come across. So it's just a straightforward refreshing of their recollection, but you've done it in a dramatic way that signals to your jury, this guy's a liar, so
Right.
my jury trials are awesome.
Do you think it was more fresh in your mind at the time that it happened 3 months ago?
You remember things closer to when they happened versus farther away from when they happened,
right?
Allegedly,
yeah.
Yeah.
My family loves to use the term allegedly a lot, and I used to use it as a defense attorney. I'm like, well, allegedly my client did this, and so now that I'm a prosecutor, so my prosecutor friends like, oh, allegedly. I'm like, oh God, yeah.
That's one of our favorite words.
Yes,
I like that viewers, like people that watch the YouTube, when I say like allegedly for something that happened on video, and they're like, Natalie, we just saw this on the video, but we saw the guy do it. And I'm just like, well, it hasn't been proven in a court of law. Like, I know that you have eyes and you can see
When can I drop that allegedly and just say, this happened? This happened like that. You're watching it live.
Yeah. And then watch, he goes to trial and gets found not guilty, even though it was on video. So really, you have to say allegedly until there's a conviction. You have to.
Right.
Just like the Rittenhouse trial, it was all on video, but
that's true.
It's all about how you interpreted it.
Yes, what lens you're seeing it through, how you perceive things. And that's what's so difficult with witnesses is you can have 10 witnesses to the same event, and they may remember things differently or perceive it differently depending on their background, their, perceptions of things, their angle from where they were watching. So it can be difficult with having multiple eyewitnesses to the same event, because if there's too many differences, you really got to choose who you want to put on the stand. And you don't want your information to be cumulative either. Like, okay, we got it. Like, everybody's the same thing. You don't need 10 people to say it. So
I remember when I was in baby practice when I first started, I was a baby public defender, and I didn't understand the cumulative evidence objection. Usually it's something that the prosecution has to deal with, and no one had ever really explained it to me. Like, I read it in the rules of evidence, and it was like one of my first trials. And it just so happened that my client had all these people that were there that wanted to come in and testify. So I was like, okay, you bring it on.
I've got so many witnesses. Put them on.
Yeah. And then eventually, the judge was like, sustain the cumulative objection after my fourth witness that would be like, he didn't do it, whatever it was. And so I was getting so frustrated. I was like, because, the judge had given me a lot of leeway looking back at it now. I just didn't understand. And so we won. It was a bench trial. We won. The judge found my client not guilty. And then he asked me to come up, and he was like, it's true. Defense attorneys don't normally get a cumulative evidence objection because you're not your burden. You usually don't have to. But he was like, you have to understand that, if they're all going to say the exact same thing, maybe 2 witnesses to say the exact same thing, not 7 or 10 or whatever. And I was like, no, I really didn't know that.
It's a hard call, though, because you're like, all right, if it's their family members or their friends, you know what I mean? It definitely, if you had 3, 4, 5 witnesses that were uninterested, unbiased, straight up, hey, I was just driving by and saw this happen, versus a carload of their best friends. Same thing. That's what I saw, So there's so many different little nuances with exhibits and witnesses, and that strategy. It's like the game of Risk, it's all the strategy and trying to figure out what is going to appeal to your judge if it's a bench trial or your jury, and what is going to be like, okay, now you're just boring me and I don't want to see anymore.
Yeah.
That's fine. Are you guys are you ladies familiar with the true crime community on YouTube?
I mean, to be honest, before all of this Zoom court YouTube stuff started, I was not. And I try really hard to stay up on things, but I've got kind of a few things going on in my life. And so
Yeah, like
not
kids.
super familiar, but
Yeah.
willing to learn.
So I actually am. And
I've been around for a while too.
It's like my television. So actually, okay, so there's like a couple of like female creators who like do their makeup and talk about true crime. Love them.
Bailey.
Yeah.
Yes.
Bailey.
We love Bailey.
Brittany. Do you guys know
her?
her?
I love her. She's from where I'm from.
Yeah, she's so cute. I love her. She's so adorable.
She's funny. Yeah.
And also what really got me into the YouTube true crime thing, aside, I know Eleanor Neal's another one. She doesn't do her makeup, but she reaches out to true crimes, and she's from she lives in London, but she's from Yorkshire, England, so she has this cute Yorkshire accent. She's so adorable.
Yeah.
And
Kendall, there's a girl named, I swear it's Kendall. And she looks like a cat or something will be in the background. And I love her voice. I said, watch. Like, oh, she's so good.
I love Kendall. She's so cute.
And she does a good job. Her stories are very interesting. So that's something that I'd say I've watched a fair amount of hers, like flipping through at night. You know, nothing like sweet dreams. Listen to true crime stories, right?
Right.
Dreams.
Well, once
and then,
you really
obviously, I got into it with when I started researching Lori Vallow Daybell and Chad Daybell.
Oh yeah.
You know, and that was that opened me up to a whole bunch of different creators, and I really enjoyed that.
The L Mom's good for the religious side of that case.
I had the L Mom on the live stream.
Okay.
Probably a couple months ago. She was great, and she came on with the woman was the niece of Charles Vallow.
Right.
Research something is her channel. I can't remember right now.
Yeah.
But I know who you're talking about. Yeah.
Yeah. It was very interesting.
Yeah, that case is very interesting.
I've always liked reality shows. I don't know, I used to watch Law and Order growing up, which is not reality. But then you're like, oh, Cops! I freaking loved the show Cops. I don't know, we'd always just watch it. And Rescue 911. That was
my favorite.
Unsolved Mysteries. I mean, I'd be like,
oh, I loved Unsolved Mysteries.
Yes.
Me too.
So, I really liked. Did you guys ever watch The First 48?
Oh gosh, yeah.
Oh yeah, that's a minute. Yeah, but you're right.
To me that was better than Cops, because it was a real investigation, not just busting people for drugs.
Or there's a clip and they got arrested, then you never know what happened to them.
Never know what happened. I Google some of those people now to see what happened to
them. Yeah.
Where are they now?
Yeah, in prison.
Yeah. Great. MDOC, weird. But I remember there was a few that were from around here. And so when it's oh my gosh, it's on Unsolved Mysteries and it's from around here. And, and then over the years, Dateline in 2020 do shows. We've had a few fairly high profile cases right in St. Joseph County, actually, that were featured on those shows. So it is interesting to, have the world look at what goes on here. And it's just, and now it's every day. So before it was really high profile case. Now it's not how high profile. It's any case that decides to catch somebody's attention. But
I live in Houston, so a lot goes on here.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, you guys probably have interesting cases every single day.
Our crime's up 31%.
Oh geez.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
What I like with the St. Joe County is how small it is. And I know you guys have all heard it over there Judge Middleton knows just about everybody or somebody who knows the person. I mean, and it just amazes me because I know, like in the big city, with juries and including prosecutors and everybody involved. It's if you know somebody, you recuse yourself.
Yeah.
Well, if he did, then
he wouldn't hear any cases.
Right.
And, the whole thing about recusing yourself or having it refer for special prosecution if it's coming out of our office if there's an issue, it is hard. We were joking. The first circuit court jury trial that we had post COVID was last summer, and I had been at the prosecutor's office full time then for about 6 months, but the prosecutor that was handling it, he's not from here and originally. And so when they're in the jury selection, I wasn't even over there, but they, here's the witnesses, here's all the people in the prosecutor's office. So they're asking like, okay, does anybody know Prosecutor David Marvin? Like, no hands raised. Does anybody know Assistant Prosecutor Deborah Davis? Like everybody and their brother raises their hand. Like they're teasing me like, hey, hometown girl. Like everybody knows. Like I know this is why I would go through the jury roster and be like, circle, oh, that's my cousin's husband. Oh, well, shoot, that's like my best friend's brother. I don't know. Like they'd be a great juror, but if they try to get out of it, here's probably why. So and same with, our police officers. A lot of them are from the area, so they have a lot of relation, and it can be a little difficult to pick a jury in our small town. So we'll see. We've got some jury trials coming up. They canceled a few of ours that were coming up, like the ones that were supposed to be this past week. And it's a week by week thing now. So we'll see if any end up actually going. My gut feeling is we might not have any until March or April, but some of these cases are really dragging on now. So we're going to have to get moving on them.
We have the same problem. We have cases that, they've been going since 2019. They were pending when the panorama hit. And
Panera Bread hit? When Panera Bread hit, I know.
And now, these are people that some of them are incarcerated. Thankfully, all of them are not, but a good portion of them are. And we suspended jury trials until the first week of March. And hopefully...
I didn't know that you guys had that.
Has gone down, like the Omicron surge has gone down. So hopefully that means we'll go back in session, but it's really backed up. It's bad. It's not good. There's going to be some constitutional issues from this in the future. I just know it.
Oh, yeah.
Well, and I think people don't realize, and it's hard for victims because there's like a pecking order, I guess, to say it in a simple way, that, all right, oldest but incarcerated, and maybe your case is older, but this person's been incarcerated and we've got to do that one. So there's a lot of factors that I think the victims and the general public don't fully understand. It's tough to look at a victim and say, look, I know you've been waiting for this for 1.5 years, but you're getting bumped again. And it's not fair to them. They want to move on with their lives just as much as anyone else.
Yeah.
Would you say a lot more people are getting bail right now because of this current situation?
Natalie, any difference in yours as far as people bonding out?
At first, a little bit, but not now.
Yeah, there definitely was a pretty big leniency given in bond when this first started, but that also... our legislature changed some things spring of last year to make it's more so like you're expected to give a PR bond unless X, Y, and Z, and they're kind of limited. So a lot of people are granted a PR bond and more so than in the years past, but not necessarily because of COVID, but because of the change in our law. So I don't know. I think that the problem is when people do bond out, then they're more likely to want to just keep dragging the case on and saying, oh, I want a jury trial. Oh, I want a jury trial. Like, Same with landlord tenant. All of a sudden, everybody and their brother in landlord tenant cases wanted a jury trial. It's like, you're only doing that because we can't give you a jury trial. Not we, because like prosecutor's office isn't involved in those,
Right.
but the plaintiff's attorney in the civil cases are like, hey, landlord, I'm sorry, but we're stuck until a jury trial can happen.
Yeah. There's a lot of issues in the landlord tenant sector. There was the moratorium that was like nationwide, and then some states kept it, some states didn't, some states extended it. There were people that received, public assistance for housing that had like different hiccups with it. I have friends that work in housing, and it's just been a mess. So yeah, the courts are just completely backed up. Right now in our jail, we have 800 and something people, which is more than the people that we had pre-pandemic.
Wow.
I think it's like 863 was the number for today. We always check the number. So they don't really care anymore. People have been passing away. It's been a mess. Yeah, so it's not good right now.
I'll tell you though, where it's in St. Joe County, when they were doing, but they had, I want to say Keisha, but I don't know if that was her name. She was always on there with Judge Middleton. And let me tell you, you guys had it going. You guys had it going on. I mean, they were getting help for people left and right. And only now is Florida seeing that. I'm in Florida. And it's absolutely horrible. So many people ending up on the streets. And it just taking this long for the help to come through. And boy, with you guys, it was like, it was like somebody there with money waiting to hand it out, and it was like, you guys really, that was impressive.
Well, and we have a lot of social help programs. For such a small county, we are very fortunate to have those. And part of the problem, though, became people kind of figured out how to work the system. And we were having, I listened to some landlord tenant while I was doing other work. It's a good background noise. And you would have a household that had 3 adults that were each receiving the $600 a week income bump and at full unemployment. They're bringing in $100,000 plus a year, and they're not paying their rent, and judge got after them as he should. I'm all for having people that need the program be able to use it, but when you have people that seem to be taking advantage of it, it just ruins it for everybody. So it is frustrating, and I feel for the landlords. I used to represent a fair number of landlords, and just before, like pre Panama Canal, I represented them. And, somebody that wasn't paying, it was going to take a month or 2 to get them out. And if your landlord has a mortgage on that rental property and their own mortgage on their house, now they've got to pay double plus the electric that they're going to get stung with if it's, in the winter. They've got to, in Michigan, you can't let your electricity go in the winter or you're going to have frozen pipes. It's just a mess. And so it is hard. It's not like this faceless corporation that owns these rentals. These are humans that have full-time jobs and their own bills, and they're trying to make it work with maybe a house that they inherited that still had a mortgage on it that they can't refinance and wasn't selling. So it was frustrating for a while there.
I had a rent house. It is the biggest headache ever. It's almost not worth it.
Yeah. I mean, when you truly look at the profit, if there is one, right? But, I look at it as at least if you're not losing money on it and there's somebody in it that's hopefully paying the utilities and keeping it up so that it doesn't fall into disrepair, at least someday you'll make your money out of it when you sell it, maybe. So land, they're not making more land, right?
That's
diversify your investments, everybody. Get yourself some land and then have your investments too.
So I'm thinking that there's this whole other side of the tracks of true crime, the true crime community that you don't hang out, and that's not a bad thing. um, and this is kind of some of the stuff that we had wanted to touch on. Um, there are some cases. I know, the Gabby Petito, for example. Um,
What's in the notebook?
Yeah.
I don't know what's in that notebook. Somebody just
Right. And one of the big ones that is still here is about a missing little girl, Summer Wells. I don't know if a lot of people, if you're not on YouTube, on that side of the tracks, you probably haven't heard, but she went missing June 15th. Nobody knows what happened. Bottom line, nobody knows.
I mean, somebody knows what happened.
Well, okay, somebody obviously knows what happened.
Nobody's
missing from the family home, right? From the
family home.
Yeah.
They live in Tennessee, up on the hill, they call it.
In a small community.
Very small community, 15 acres. I forget how far the nearest neighbor is. And they use the term "got gone." She got gone. Apparently, it's a term that is used culturally in that area. She just got gone. She went missing. The family believe she was abducted. I mean, again, remember, this was June 15th. So you've had the police, you've had TBI. I think I mentioned it in an email. Was that to you, Debbie? Because you would ask me for
you did
information. This was the one I had mentioned, and it was crazy. TBI, I think at one point the FBI. I mean, they've had dogs. They've had dogs on multiple occasions. They waited till fall, brought the searches out.
I think there's been over 100 different agencies at some point involved in looking.
Wow.
Now,
and they live on a street where it's like a dead end, like kind of like, imagine like a cul-de-sac for us, but it's in the mountains, and so there's maybe one or two neighbors. Like, there's really no reason why anybody would just go down this road, which is another reason why authorities they kind of said that they really didn't think it was an abduction, but they weren't ruling it out.
When was the last time that the child was this like a nighttime thing or a daytime
thing? No, it was a daytime thing. That they did, where the mom was doing errands throughout the day, and I guess there was a small period of time their mother lives in a trailer on their property, like
the grandma.
Literally, you could see the grandma, right? You could see from the house. So apparently, Summer had gone into the house with her brothers, and while the mom was helping the grandmother, and when she came into the house and said, "Hey, where's your sister at?" She went downstairs. She called for her, and she wasn't there. She went down to look. She was just gone. And apparently, the father was at work. They had some kind of communication via telephone. Both of them had called 911. And then they were in contact with each other, like while he was on his way home, and she was running around in the car looking for the child. So, but what I was really getting at with this is you have all these creators, these YouTube creators, coming up with different scenarios and presenting it as fact.
There's literally dozens of channels that cover just this case. Like, that's it.
You could go literally. You could go on somebody, into somebody's channel and hear them say that the father did it, or the father didn't do it, but the mother did, or they know something as a fact. And in fact, they called themselves heels on the ground. These people had gone to Tennessee. They were with the protests that were happening at Gabby Petito's, the ones who were the bullhorn lady.
Yeah.
She got involved, went down there with her bullhorn screaming, "Where did you bury your daughter?" while he's working. These kinds of things.
The most horrible things.
So, I mean, like, aside from it being so horrible, we started thinking this has to have an effect on any upcoming trial of something once they find out what did happen. Whether, I mean, we've always been innocent until proven guilty, period. Mm-hmm. But then, see, when you're that person, then you get accused of everything else. You become a Wells supporter. Their last name's Wells, or you'll love this one, an SA supporter, because he supposedly has been accused of doing that to somebody. So if you believe that they're innocent until proven guilty, I've been called an SA supporter, and it's like, where did that come from? Because I don't want to say this guy did it.
Well, the reality is not one of us in this room knows what really happened, right? So there obviously are theories of what happened, but the problem is, like the game of telephone, if one fact gets out, that fact then may get misinterpreted or twisted, whether intentionally or unintentionally. And pretty soon it's so far from what had truly been discovered that people run wild. And this is where, social justice, right? Like on the street, I'm just going to get my street justice. Like it gets people so upset, especially when it's a child and there are those types of allegations. It's scary. And, one of the effects, I know when you emailed, like, what's the effect of this? Well, if you have this much interest in a case, it can bring in tips, using the term very loosely, from people that it clogs the system. So if the Texas Bureau of Investigation or the FBI is investigating, and now it's so high profile, and you've got all these different creators that are putting out different information, and they're like, now you're drawing in people, and now instead of maybe 10 good tips, you've got 5,000 tips, and out of those 5,000, your investigators have to weed through them. And people mean well, they want to help, but it's in fact just creating a bigger problem for the investigators trying to weed through all of those tips that are just totally not relevant. And like a needle in a haystack, try to find the one caller that is telling you something that is going to be relevant or necessary.
Yeah, I agree. And I think from a defense standpoint, if any prosecution ever does arise from this, say for the father, right? And we don't know it. People can say, let me just back up a little bit. People can say that, oh, it's really unlikely that the child was abducted because they live on the end of it.
I'm sorry, is there a cat tail?
All over. That's Susie.
I'm sorry, like, what is that? Like,
that is Susie. She just act like she's not there.
Aww, she's so cute.
She's made so many cameos in my videos because
that
she does
is the first time I've seen your kitty.
There's no
sorry.
restriction.
This is a serious topic, Natalie.
Yep.
Put it together. I am not a cat.
I am not a cat. I think this is a filter, and I don't know how to remove it.
Not a cat.
That's funny.
If you sit down, it'll make it so much easier. No, not going to do that. Okay, we're going
to. That's cats do what they want. So anyway, going back. Sorry.
Yeah, no, please. So when they say things like, first, they don't know what they're talking about, is what I'm trying to say. When you say things like, oh, they live at the end of a deserted road, no one, literally, there are people in that town, you don't know what sick person lives there and could have came there specifically looking for that little girl. You literally have no idea. You don't know anything. You're not a police officer. Yep. You're not an investigator. You don't know what's going on. You probably don't even live in the state. So from the perspective of, say, the father was ever charged with anything, I've got reasonable doubt all over this case, number one. Number two, I'm going for a change of venue because the small town is far too tainted by the media attention. I would get a better case in a more, say, liberal district that's more likely to not convict my guy. So there's a lot of ways here in which this type of interference, like physically going to the location, it's counterproductive for what they want. If you think that someone there actually harmed the child, the best thing to do would be to stay out of it and let the authorities do their jobs.
Right.
And
that's what happened. These people went up there, went to their church, their job, got them fired.
Oh, yeah.
Went to their house, the stores they go to every day. They literally went everywhere these people go to on a daily basis with bullhorns and screaming and saying what they thought.
Cost the guy his job.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
And I mean, there's other kids in that family from what you're saying. So now the interference of people has caused that man to lose his job. And nobody knows if he had anything to do with this. Let's say that he had nothing to do with this. Now, this poor guy has lost his child. You're traumatizing his other two kids. Now he doesn't have a job, and good luck finding one with all the things that are now being said about him. So, the collateral consequences to the victim's family, assuming they had nothing to do with it, now you're just making them even more miserable. And, it's sad. And do you really think that badgering them like that is like, okay, you're right. Yes, I'm coming out of the grocery store. Yes, I did it. Here's where her body is.
This is where she's buried. Thanks. You know what, you guys?
Yeah, it's like you're not going to get a confession out of them by doing that. Like, it's just.
Now, what about, because this has concerned me, when, because it's been so long now, we're more and more theories are coming out. So now we have creators going the psychic route and cult route. The cult route, and this is where I find it really bad. There's got to be something wrong. I mean, like against the law, because they're saying the church, this is a small church, and they're saying that the Sunday school teacher was grooming. No other child has gone missing. But the Sunday school teacher.
That sounds more like civil liability than a crime. So it sounds like slander and libel. Just to say that a church is a cult and they're abusing children. It sounds like you're really walking on the precipice of slander and libel. You got to be careful with something like that. You end up being civilly liable for something like that. But no, like telling lies is not in and of itself a crime, but it certainly can have civil consequences.
Right. I thought there had to be something, because to just, they're Seventh-day Adventists, and I mean, I guess, you use the word cult, if you look it up. I mean, there are actually positive, like churches in and of themselves could be considered cults, like because you believe their central beliefs. But people don't think of cults like anything positive. We always tend to go to the negative, and that's where they're going, and with the grooming, and
that's a very
scary.
That's a very slippery slope when it comes to YouTube content creation, because just like with accusing the father, you really don't want to start making accusations as though they are fact, right? And you can even walk a thin line when it comes to civil liability, where you go from, oh, this is just my speculation, to you push this point of view so much that people will actually believe this, and it's harming the person or organization that you're saying these things against. So there is actual protection for religious organizations and people from slander and libel. So I would really be very careful with that. And, you know, YouTube content creators should also be extremely careful with that. Just, you don't
That's what I would think.
Yeah. And, you know, calling on, I know people like, you know, psychics and things like that for entertainment value, but that's really where they should stay. Entertainment value. They do not assist in investigations. They do not. They have never, ever been effective.
Thank you.
Determining if someone has committed a crime, finding a missing person. They've never done it. It's never happened. And it's like, once, thankfully, I was afraid you were going to say law enforcement was using psychics, because then I was like, oh, they've given up, you know, because they have nothing else to do. But no, I mean, I feel like the most famous example of this is when those girls, there were some girls that were missing in Ohio, and one of their mothers went on a talk show, and this psychic, I think it was the Montel Williams or Montel Jordan, I think it was whatever, Montel. It went on his talk show, and he had like a resident psychic, and she said, oh, you know, you're going to have to let her go, she's dead. And then a couple of years later, they found her in the basement with some other girls of this like serial woman kidnapper. So it's just like, you cannot listen to these people. Like, you told us to put her daughter to rest, she's dead, and she's alive, struggling in someone's basement for years, you know? Just like, don't listen to those people. They don't know what they're talking about.
Otherwise, all police departments would have one on their payroll, and we wouldn't have all these missing and unsolved murders.
Right.
And
what do you need
warehouses for? Warehouses full of kits, SA kits that need to be tested and solved. Like,
yeah.
No, and it's so funny, and I'm really not funny, haha. But I'm so glad, Natalie, that you mentioned that it has never ever happened, because the psychic that they're mainly referring to, and who refers to herself, states that she assisted with the Lori and Chad Daybell, that she told them thank you for eye roll, Natalie. Very good, thank you.
Hey, trademark that.
I know, but you know, but she wrote a book on it and everything, how she found it, she assisted law enforcement, and I could find nothing. I looked, I tried, could find nothing. So she self-proclaimed.
They used phone records. They used phone records to track that Alex Cox was at Chad Daybell's house at the same time in the middle of the night. And they were like, well, that's weird. Right after the kids went missing, or right after the last time that they were seen. That's really weird. And then they, you know, oh, you know, I shot a raccoon and I burned some limbs in the fire pit. And they were like, let's go dig at Chad's house. That it had nothing to do with the psychic. That's what I'm saying, is that a lot of these people that, I have no general problem with psychics, like I said, as entertainment. Read people's palms and tell them their future, and, you know, collect your coins, do your thing. I'm not hating, do your thing. But if you're going to insert yourself into an investigation, I have a major problem with that.
Yeah. I agree.
Me too. Yeah. And I'm not even a lawyer.
Because then there comes a point where it can get disrespectful too. Like, some people are just using spirit boxes and, like, what are you doing?
Oh my God.
Oh no.
Like, it's gotten really scary on this side of the tracks.
Yeah.
I'm telling you. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think they're just dissatisfied. I think they're just dissatisfied because their heart's in the right place. They want to find a good answer. They followed the Gabby Petito case, and they thought that was going to like lead to some like great revelation, and then it didn't, you know, that he was going to be on the run. I said in my video, like, that I did on it when it first happened, where it was like, he's on the run. I was like, child, he is dead. He is not on the run.
Really? So you said, I thought, because with being in Florida and knowing where his parents were, and where they went camping, and then where they thought he was, I thought if I were like, I really thought that the parents knew something. I still have to think they must have known something. They wouldn't contact Gabby's parents.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure that they did, right? I'm sure that the son probably told them what happened, and they were covering for him. More than likely, that's just my
Right.
guess, right? But as far as like him being on the run on the Appalachian Trail, I was just like, that's not happening. Like,
No.
year 2021 at the time, we have cell phones with cameras on them. If he was on the Appalachian Trail, somebody was taking a picture of him. He's dead, right?
Right.
You can't. People do go on the run, but not in this high profile of a case where everyone knows what you look like before you go on the run. How is he going to get
what I had said? Tell me what you think of my thing. I thought if you're looking at somebody who wants to keep their son out of prison for the rest of his life, okay, being in Florida, there was talk about the Keys. They could have just gone straight to the Keys. They had a boat, take him over to Cuba, and drop him off. Now, granted, who the hell wants to live in Cuba? I get it. Cuba or jail, they might not. What do you call it when they bring you back?
Extradite.
Yeah, that was like on the fence because I looked it up, and it was like, well, they don't have to. Like they have that thing for not, but they started getting into trade with the U.S., so they might. But that's where I thought if they were smart, that's where he would have gone.
Yeah,
They
no,
weren't so
he's not
smart.
smart. He killed his girlfriend after having a confrontation with the police. He wasn't
right.
And Cuba also has people with cell phones with cameras on them. So he wasn't in Cuba. He wasn't anywhere. He
wasn't anywhere.
He was missing for all this time. And they're like, oh, he's on where's the picture? Show me one picture of where he is. Nobody could come up with one. I was like, he's dead. That's just how it is.
Yeah.
We actually talked to a search and rescue guy. He's a founder and president of his own organization. And he was like, I told the FBI guys called me. They were involved in that case, like right around when it all started. He's like, I told him, go to the biggest canopy of trees you can find, and he's going to be there. Mm-hmm. And that's where he ended up being.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
yep.
Everybody thinks that
cool.
They wanted to really actually like survey the land, and they want to build stuff up on it, and that's really why they were out there. We'll see.
And they were saying, how his dad had found something belonging to him, and the guy she's referring to had said it kind of came as absolutely no surprise to me. He said, when somebody's going to commit suicide, they're normally going to a place that means something to them. And that's where his father went, to the place that meant something to his son. So, that's how he found him.
Right. The case is not, it's tragically simple, the case.
Yeah.
It was a domestic violence situation. Someone called and said that they saw a guy hitting a girl. A lot of people wanted to make excuses for why, she started it. But those are the things that girls say when they're trying to cover for their boyfriends in domestic violence situations. She was like, oh, he came at me like this. That's something looking like you're going to choke them. He goes back home. She's not with him. Clearly, she's dead, right? Because this young girl is not going to stay out of contact with her family. And then he goes missing. He's not in a bunker. He's not in Cuba. He's not on the Appalachian Trail. He's dead. So, it's just murder, suicides in domestic violence situations or intimate partner violence situations are exceedingly common as far as the outcomes of those types of situations are concerned, unless someone intervenes. And we see that it was an accelerated process. These are really young people, but these are things that happen all over the country every single day. So it's just, I know people want to make it a big murder mystery, but we really need to think about it in a concrete human fashion so that we can actually address the issue of intimate partner violence and not make it about, like, let's all be, Sherlock Holmes. You know what I'm saying? It's not about us investigating anything. We just need to look at the facts for what they are and actually talk about, you know, intimate partner violence in this country. We don't talk about it in the right way. You know, we're always like, oh, she has a reason. She has a reason for why, you know, she got out of hand or whatever. No, everyone keep their hands to themselves. Let's start with that, you know? So that's what the problem really was. Yeah.
Now, is that investigation, do we know if it's still ongoing as to his parents as like accessories after the fact? I mean, it just struck me that they clammed up, and if they didn't know that their son had done something, you know, this is a girl that was going to be your daughter-in-law that you were going to have in your family, and it bothers me a bit that they did not assist. They didn't insist that their son, you know, it just, I just wasn't sure if there was anything as far as accessory after the fact for the parents. Do you know anybody?
Well, I looked at it. I looked at the accessory statute because it was a federally charged offense. And I think there would have been a basis for that, except for the whole knowledge thing, because outside of invoking his right to counsel and his right to stay silent, they didn't like really do much of anything. The one thing you could say that they did was not inform law enforcement right away when he left, but there was no order that he stay home. So they didn't have a legal obligation to tell them that he left. So it's not like he was like charged with something and on pretrial release in order to stay at their home, and then they helped him get away, right? Like it wasn't like that. Like he just left and there was no legal obligation. So I know that as far as he is concerned, obviously they dismissed the case that was pending against him for using her credit card, and they said that the case was closed. I don't think they're going to pursue the parents. I think the parents knew after the fact and helped him to get away. And excuse me, that could be the basis, but I don't think that they'd be able to prove it. I don't think they'd be able to prove it.
There actually was an article that was put out about 3 days ago that said that this case is actually still open, but people are explaining it as they're basically just like dotting their I's and crossing their T's. And they did word it in a way that kind of seemed like they left the door open. But like Jennifer Koffendorfer, a retired FBI agent, she said there's not going to be any other charges. There won't. Like you said, there wasn't anything demanding that he stay at home or report or be electronically, you know, followed or anything. So legally, not a whole lot.
Yeah, it feels icky. It feels icky, right? Like I don't like it.
Yeah, it's more of morality than legality issues.
Exactly,
for sure.
Yeah. Tell these, like, they had no legal obligation to tell mom and dad where their daughter was, which is so sad. But they didn't have a legal obligation to do that. So it's one of those, again, legality, morality situations. They are at odds here.
So somebody in chat, I don't know, boy, Monet? Hi, ladies. What's your commentary on the retired ex-cop that shot and killed someone in a movie theater, and it's just going to trial after 8 years?
I'm not familiar with this.
So there were two couples. They were in a movie theater, double dating.
That's now going to trial? I know this case.
Yeah.
I thought so, but I thought it already went to trial, no?
No.
Okay, so Debbie, this case was a younger couple and an older couple. The younger guy was on his cell phone. But when I say younger, I mean like he was like in his, say, 30s, 40s, something like that.
Okay.
The retired cop was elderly with his wife.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Yeah, he was an elderly man. And he got into a verbal altercation and he shot the guy that was looking at his cell phone like right before the movie started or something like that. And so I thought this happened 8 years ago. I thought that case was over with. Why is it just
too?
And you mentioned he was elderly. Isn't that what the charge is based upon him like assaulting an elderly or I can't remember what they were saying, but yeah, it's just barely rolling through.
I have to find out what's.
I don't know anything about it. I'm sorry. I swear I live under a rock sometimes.
It's been so long. I thought it was. I thought it was done with.
I mean, I've had some cases
on my phone.
Drag on, but that's
right. Never like that. Never.
Yeah.
Hold on.
She said they just picked the jury today in this case.
Wow. Curtis Reeves.
Now I'm going to have to look it up.
And he's an elderly
We're going
man.
to have to do that.
He's 79. He's 79.
Well, that's now. See, he was 71 then, I guess.
But I remember being blown away by the fact that he was like an older gentleman. And I was like, oh gosh, like shooting somebody in a movie theater at 71 years old, you go your whole life without doing something like that. That's crazy.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Wow.
Pasco County, Florida.
What?
Still Florida.
Oh, that's right. Oh my God. Do you know how far I am from Pasco?
You should be sitting in on this one, reporting live from the courtroom.
Oh my God.
You should see if you can get in there.
I remember this. This was the one, if I'm not mistaken, you know how they have those movie theaters where you can like eat, like you can have a meal.
Like the restaurant ones, yeah.
Yeah, I think it's one of those. It was the only one we had in the entire area.
Yeah.
So he's charged with second-degree murder. The two men argued in a Wesley Chapel movie theater in 2004.
Yeah, Wesley Chapel. Sorry.
When Reeves complained about Olson using his phone to text during movie previews.
Yeah, I can't believe how much of that I remembered off the top of my head.
That's impressive. Yeah. So it says that
the movie hadn't even started yet. That's so crazy.
Yeah. So Reeves is a retired Tampa police captain. He's never denied that he killed him, but he has always claimed it was an act of self-defense. The trial has been delayed for 8 years by legal motions, appeals, and even the Panama Canal.
Wow.
Wow.
This is a very Florida case. Very Florida.
Oh, wow. Yeah, I got to do that one.
I thought they had a stand your ground hearing and everything.
Yeah. It says the stand your ground, like that was some of the appealable issues that were going.
Oh, I get it. So they did a pretrial stand your ground and they probably appealed.
That's what it was.
On that. And it was working its way through the appellate court. That would make a lot more sense because when people say things like, say someone's a defendant and they go and you're like, well, they got convicted, but they can appeal, right? Man, that means they're sitting in prison for years. Appeals take a long time.
He hasn't been incarcerated, though. He has been on 8 years of tethered GPS on his own home, like in his own home.
He wasn't going there anyway. He's 79. He wasn't going anywhere.
I mean, there's still places you can go. But yeah, so 8 years tethered to a GPS ankle monitor, but free from jail on bail.
Wow.
It says after a lengthy stand your ground trial, appeals hearings, it reached the state Supreme Court, legal wrangling over changes to Florida self-defense laws. His second-degree murder trial in the slaying of Chad Olson was beginning, it was 4 days ago. So they're 4 days in.
Wow.
And he injured the wife of Mr. Olson. So Mr. Olson had injured the wife.
Wow.
They were seated one row ahead. He asked him to stop texting. The two argued, prompting Reeves to leave the theater to complain, grunting and kicking the back of seats as he left. He returned. The arguing escalated. Olson stood up to face the man behind him, then threw a bag of popcorn in his face. Reeves reached into his pocket, pulled out a .38 caliber handgun, and shot him in the chest. On its way, the bullet hit Nicole's hand as she attempted to hold her husband back.
Oh my goodness.
This is horrific. Chad Olson tried to speak, but too much blood seeped from his mouth. Frantic moviegoers performed CPR, called 911. and Reeves just sat down in his seat with his gun in his lap.
No, that's an overreaction, man. Chill out.
And he died the next
Yeah.
day.
Oh no.
So
That's even worse. Like he suffered.
yeah.
Oh, that's
So interesting. So Reeves said he acted out of fear for his life, an argument that bolstered his request for immunity under Florida's controversial Stand Your Ground law. When a circuit judge ruled against him, he appealed. Then lawmakers changed the law, shifting the burden of proof to the prosecutors and raising questions about whether Reeves' argument should get another chance in court. But ultimately, the Florida Supreme Court ruled the change couldn't affect cases retroactively. So that's why.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay.
Because
no,
she,
respect the law. I always have an issue with retroactive application of, because for example, it's not fair. It's not fair to the defendant. It's not fair to anyone at the time. In the Ahmaud Arbery case, they obviously, I don't agree with Roddy Bryant, Travis McMichael, and Gregory McMichael, who murdered Ahmaud Arbery. I don't agree with them, but at the time they argued that they were using the citizens arrest law, which has been argued was a racist law in and of itself, but it was the law, right? And the jury found that they weren't actually applying the law; they were just being crazy. But they changed the law afterwards and said that you can no longer effectuate a citizen's arrest, right? Like they just abolished the citizen's arrest law. And some people were arguing that they shouldn't even be able to raise the citizen's arrest defense in their trial. And I didn't think that, and the judge disagreed with that. And I think the judge was right, because at the time, the state of play was that there's a citizen's arrest law. You can at least try to raise that defense. And thankfully they were not successful, but at least it was fair to them to use the law that was in place at the time that they allegedly committed the crime. And the same should be here. The same law should be in place at the time that he committed the crime. You should be able to write a law in order to get someone out of trouble,
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
okay. So this is so sad. Like, I'm sorry. I'm listening to you guys, but the background of this case tugs the heartstrings.
Oh, no.
So one thing that is being alleged is that the defense just continues to drag this out so that he remains free on bail. I mean, he's 71 when it happened, so he's 79 now. But there have been over 100 depositions and different things that, stuff that just takes time. So, and then they're trying to find unbiased jurors, and they're trying to say, well, you've heard of the case, so you're biased. That's not how that works.
He's so old, though.
Yeah. So, but it gives the key figures, like him and his wife. And then it talks about how the husband and wife, she had taken off time, taken off work so that they could go to this, a date together to the movies. And it's called hold on.
The seated.
I wish you could know this movie theater. Shoot, where is it? Something 16. I don't remember where it was said, but anyway, not important. But the important part was they had dropped their 3-year-old off at the daycare before going to the movie, and they were just texting the daycare to check on the child.
Yeah.
Oh no!
Texting.
Yeah.
I mean, the movie hadn't even started yet. That's
it's just the previews. I mean,
yeah.
About the previews anyway.
Yeah, during the movie itself, I get being upset, but not during.
But you don't shoot somebody over it.
No.
I mean,
Yeah.
A life is more important than you being able to watch the previews to a movie.
Right.
Yeah, someone said they definitely wrote that law just for him. The judge had a meltdown today with the defense lawyer's tactics and help. I didn't know. I had no idea.
Yeah.
It's called the Grove 16 Theater in Wesley Chapel.
Yeah.
Sounds familiar.
Yeah. And it's the only one where you can actually eat, has the dining thing with it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So then this
I just thought that
come on my channel and discuss this in our next live, because this sounds like an excellent case to discuss.
Oh, so he did spend 7
Yeah.
months in jail before they had a 2-day bond hearing with 12 hours of testimony, and he was denied bond for a second time back in 2014. And then after 7 months, he was released on $150,000 bail after winning his appeal, but it was on that house arrest with GPS monitoring, allowing only for trips to the grocery store, his attorney's office, religious services, and for medical treatment.
Oh, he's all over the place.
I mean,
he's living his life.
I'm guessing he doesn't live in like a tiny place, right? I mean, even if you did, it's better than jail. Get to see your family.
Yeah.
Oh, it's much better than jail. Much
right,
better
like you have,
Yeah.
like, you maybe can't go anywhere, but everybody can come to you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Crazy.
At least he gets to see his family and people. The other guy don't.
That other guy doesn't, all because of an argument over texting. Really, I would really love for you guys to come on the channel and discuss this case because
I love that.
That
It makes you wonder if his background made him almost feel entitled to react that way.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I do wonder that. Yeah.
Yeah, I do too. I can also remember anytime going to the movies after that, you wanted to be real careful with your cell phone. And it's like, my God, it's like, boy, I mean, it doesn't take much to.
That wife will
upset
never be able to go
somebody.
watch a movie in a theater, probably ever again, because of that.
Right.
That is so sad. That is so sad.
Yeah.
That is.
Yeah. But Mayne is saying that that's the person who's telling us about it, says it's on Court TV. So I'll check, and it can't be all that far for me. I mean, I just have to find out it would be great to be able to go see it.
That's so fascinating that you're so close to that.
Yeah. Like whenever I hear those, Pasco, it's like, oh my God, that's not the only, I mean, even Brian Laundrie, he wasn't close, but still, yeah, not that far.
Yeah.
There was just a case here in Houston where this guy shot his girlfriend 22 times and then was let out on bond. And that same judge, just a year before, had a girl in her court that was accused of murder. She was out on bond, caught a felony credit card charge, and she let her out on bond again. And then they dropped the first murder charge. And while she was out, she went into a couple's home, doused them with gasoline, lit them on fire with their kids in the house. The dad died 2 days later, and the mom has been in the hospital with over 70% burns on her body, with not being able to have family around because of Panda Express, and going through all these surgeries and infections and stuff all by herself. So this judge obviously didn't learn that she shouldn't let murderers out of jail. It's craziness.
Yeah.
Well, on that note, that's crazy. On that note, I have to go, unfortunately. I'm sorry.
Okay, yeah, no, we understand. Thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me. I really appreciate it. I've got a very long work day tomorrow. Debbie, it was nice seeing you again.
Nice seeing you again, for sure. I mean, I was like still scrolling through, like now it's like, oh, he wasn't texting. It's like, what's going on? So, guys, we're gonna need like a time to research on these before
it's
we
crazy.
Yeah.
I can't believe it's just now going to trial. Like that blew my mind.
I know.
That is crazy. It did with me too.
But when you think about it, so a lot of the protections are in place to protect the defendant's speedy trial, right? But in this case, his delay he doesn't care that there's a delay because he gets to continue being a free man, to an extent, obviously. So it's interesting, but the right of the victims to be able to have the chance to get this resolved, definitely not as compelling as what the rules are for the defendants to have the speedy trial.
So do you think that it will that he's going to string it along or try to as long as he can till he dies?
Yeah. Well, I mean, when you look at it, they've done a damn good job of it so far.
I would. Yeah. If I was his attorney, he's elderly, I would. They're running out the clock. That's exactly what they're doing.
Oh yeah. 100%.
So like you said, home detention is a lot better than prison. and he shot a man that was armed with popcorn. So
I was wondering if it was popcorn that he threw, because all the articles I've ever read just says he threw something.
It was popcorn. Yeah.
So all right, so Natalie, as a defense attorney, would you go for a mistrial somehow?
Yeah, this is a case that you want to like. Yeah, this is
Natalie.
She said she had to go.
I think she just.
Oh my God! Is that like her timer?
No, I think she moved her computer and like it must have like unplugged something. Yeah. So where I'm going
she came back to finish.
Oh, good. I was to say like.
Yeah,
mistrial.
Enough. We're fired. But no, seriously, this is that case. You know, you don't normally want a mistrial where, you know, your client's going to be tried again. You want this case to be over with. Your client's held in jail. That's not this, because it's not looking too good for him. Like if it goes to a jury, it's not looking too great. So I can just see a bunch of delay tactics going forward. In addition to the delay tactics you've already had.
Like filing an interlocutory appeal or something that's going to again delay, and then hope that there's some sort of a mistrial, because if so, goes back to square one, then you have to reset trial dates, or you're waiting for the appeals to go through. Because if it's a post-conviction appeal, now you're getting sentenced, and it's
you're in prison.
Like you're incarcerated for whatever the judge sentences you to. And all right, let's presume that if it's a second degree, you know, he may not score out to life. He probably wouldn't, honestly. Like if you're looking at like our sentencing guidelines, if he's found guilty of a second degree and he's got 0 priors, you know, in our state, if there's a firearm involved, you can charge a felony firearm and get that 2-year extra. I don't know what they charged him with down there, but okay. So you get 2 years and then maybe 15 on top of that. Now for him, that's right. I mean, unless he's got some sort of like crazy genetics, but if you get convicted and your sentence is then that 15 years, you're sitting while the appeals are going, and maybe your appeals, if you are successful, but you're talking years, and it's not an easy way to go to be in a Department of Corrections at that age.
And a former police officer.
Right. Ooh, and I mean, you don't get special treatment because of that. You maybe get worse treatment. And again, just the stress that he's going to face. I mean, it's not a good situation.
No.
So his best tactic is to delay, and they've done a very good job at it so far.
They just have to run out his lifespan, basically. That's what they have to do, and they can. They can. But from what people are saying, it's like this judge isn't having it. So we'll see. All right.
Yes. Hi, Natalie.
Hi, Natalie.
We'll get together soon.
Yes.
Absolutely. Okay, bye.
Yeah, thank you. Bye.
All right, guys. What you got?
Debbie, before we let you go, talk is kind of going back to the other side of the tracks of true crime that we were talking about earlier. What would you say are like some no-nos for true crime people that are doing it as a hobby to try and steer away from?
Like as far as the creators?
Yeah.
Okay. So number one, you don't want to meddle in the investigation. So everybody wants to be the first one to break the news, right? But by doing that, you risk the investigators' strategy, or end up hurting the investigation instead of helping it. So as tempting as it may be to get inside information and expose it and be the first one to expose it, it's not worth it. In my opinion, it's not worth it to risk ruining an investigation. And the more information that is leaked, even if it's say it's half information, right? Or maybe it's speculation, but you're making it sound like, oh, this is it. The people that have actually committed the crime, if it's widespread enough of information, it sets them up to continue being in the shadows because, like, oh, they're leaning toward this and they can manipulate the situation to avoid being caught. And, you know, I know it's extremely hard for people to not be in the know, but it's not worth it if it's going to let a murderer go free. So I guess that's one of my pet peeves, being on the prosecution side of it. You know, the other thing is, don't take things and state this is a fact, or make it appear that it's a fact, or cite a source that you don't really have, because it's going to come back to haunt you. And if you do some things, it could be considered obstruction and you could be criminally charged. So you better make sure it's worth it to you if you're going to, you know, toe that line. So that being said, drawing attention to cases like, hey, this is happening in our world, there is value to that, you know, but it's just a very fine line.
Yeah.
Would you say inherited immunity is a real thing?
And like, what do you mean by that?
Like, let's say my dad was a cop and I got in trouble, and it was a small community, and my dad was a cop in that community, that county. Would you say there is a such thing as inherited immunity?
I mean, it probably does happen, right? But nobody's going to tell the prosecutors about it. I mean, it may be that I never see that ticket, or
right, exactly,
you know, or a ticket never happens, and I never know that there was somebody that was pulled over for doing something. I mean, there's always the stories of, oh, so and so was pulled over for DUI, but they just let them go home. We don't play those games, and you know, it's something where you should be held to a higher standard, and not like using a badge as a protection to, hey, I can get away with stuff. The badge should be a badge of honor where you are held to that higher standard. And I mean, you look at law enforcement and prosecutors that have gotten in trouble, and judges that have gotten in trouble for things, and we've had them in our very own county, and you better own it and not try to hide it, because in this day and age, it'll get out. Snapchat, Facebook, Instagram, like all of those things. You make one false move, you think that nobody sees it, but it'll get out. So, you know, it's funny. We tell our kids, like, and my husband, his family has owned an insurance agency for several generations, and he says, growing up, his dad always said to him, "Don't screw up, because what you do reflects on us. And if you have a poor reputation, it reflects poorly on us. And you know, that's, you want to carry yourself in a better light." Now, did my husband screw up as a kid? I'm sure, you know, he's past, but we say the same thing to our kids. Like, look, you guys, what you do reflects on us. And so we try to remind them of that. If you like to do nice things, then don't make mommy lose her job. Just kidding.
That's right.
So, you know, is there that good old boys club and things like that? I'm sure in places there are, but it's one of those things that you have to be careful who you put in positions of power, and make sure that they're there for the right reasons. Not like, ooh, I want to be sheriff so that I can get my buddies out of trouble, or, oh, I want to be the prosecutor so that I can hide tickets for people. Like, you just can't. Now, back in the day when there was not body cams and MVS and dispatch wasn't like every second you go, like, you know, police officers, they have to log in who they're pulling over, where they're at, signaling where they're at. There's GPS on their vehicles. everything, there's your starting mileage, your ending mileage for stops, like, they run a pretty tight ship. So I like to think that we don't have that going on. And if it is, and people bring it to our attention, we would take it very seriously.
Yeah.
And what about, I think we touched on it, like with the TBI, which is, well, you probably know, the Tennessee Bureau of Investigations. That's where people were told to report tips for this little girl. I couldn't tell you the amount just from YouTube when you hear somebody, like if I were to say, oh, and everybody make sure you report that to TBI.
Yeah.
That's got to be taken away.
Well, every agency, law enforcement agency, has their resource limits, right? If there are 15 creators that have 50,000 views, and of those 50,000 views, 1,000 people are like, ooh, and they honestly think maybe they know something, and they're calling TBI, the manpower needed just to listen to the messages, let alone call the person back, get more information, now send an investigator out to follow up on that lead. It's such a potential drain on the resources, with some well-meaning people, but some that are not well-meaning. They just, for whatever reason, they just like copycat acts, and it's hard. You got to find that balance between having enough publicity about a case that it doesn't just get ignored and fall through the cracks, versus over publicizing a case and having people come out of the woodwork that just want to, like you said, the psychics, like, oh, I think I've got this information, and it's not going to lead the investigators anywhere. It's chasing a dead lead.
So they could be abusing this resource, and a viable tip could just potentially slip right through because of, all, like you said, oh, look over here, but it's just looking over here.
I mean, if TBI only got 10 calls, right, they could thoroughly investigate those 10 calls.
Right.
If they have 1,000 calls, it's a needle in a haystack. And call number 999 might have been the one, and maybe it just didn't get logged, or the person, like, oh yeah, I'll follow up on it, but I'm following up on leads 882 through 887, and I'll get there when I get there. And maybe by the time they get to following up on it, whatever was there is now gone. And that's the thing, is it's very time sensitive. The longer a case goes on, the less likely you are to find viable evidence. It's
Right.
It's really sad. We had a missing child case here years ago. Brittany Beers, never solved. Same thing though. Girl just disappears. Like, I want to say she was 7, last seen on a park bench by the road, by her apartment complex, vanished. And still to this day, there's leads that come in every once in a while, but nothing. And
what was the last name?
Beers, Beers. Brittany.
Okay, Beers. Like the drink.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I have a 7-year-old.
Right, and it's like, how in broad daylight does she just vanish? And same here, broad daylight. How old were the brothers that were in the house? Do you know?
Well, see, that's something I actually want to tell you about. Is TBI took the kids from the home. It was 3 older brothers, and they're all in foster care now. And they said they took them, the dad says they took them because of the dangers that were being created because of the high profile of the ness of the case. And, a lot of people on YouTube say, oh no, they took them because of the living conditions. And, I know you're familiar with family court. Bottom line is, we will never know exactly why they took them, because that stuff is confidential when it comes to minors. We know that they're gone. They're not there no more. That's it, period. You can speculate why all you want.
Right. And okay, so let's go with either of those options. Those
And I do
kids,
think the oldest was 13.
okay, so we've got kids that are old enough to verbalize if they saw
Right.
something. I'm gonna assume that they were interviewed separate from each other. And this is the other thing with investigations. You, as a responding police officer, they don't know if this is just a situation where sister went to a friend's house and just didn't tell you guys, or if this is an abduction by a stranger, or if she wandered off into the woods and is hurt. So when they get there to begin their investigation, the first 48, maybe in the first 4 to 8 minutes, right? They have to determine, is this something that is felony? Is this misdemeanor? Is this civil? Is this nothing? I would hope that they took the kids and interviewed them out of earshot of each other. Hey, when did you last see your sister? What did she say? What was she doing? Did she eat anything? Like, just try to get, like, seems like mundane details, but okay, 13-year-old, go have a seat out there. Next kid. And if their stories aren't matching up, then you're like, wait, why are they not? Is it just because they're boys and they don't pay attention to what their sister's doing? Very well could be. Or is this something where they had something to do with it? I don't know. Stranger things have happened, right? So, once that investigation portion is done, you have now set the tone for what's going to happen with the rest of the day and where you go from here. And any physical evidence that might have been there, if you don't get it the first time you're there, it's probably not going to be there the next time you go. So I'm just curious, like, and if the kids did get removed because of the high profile case and the danger, worrying about people coming with these bullhorns and screaming at their parents and whatever, can you imagine for those kids? You've now lost your sister, tragically. You've no idea. You're hoping that she's still alive somewhere, but you don't know. You're 13 years old. You're in a very tough time in your life. Things are changing, hormones and all of that. And now you've been removed from your home, from your parents, and you have these people harassing and making YouTube videos. How the hell are you supposed to go to school and live a semi-normal life? And I sometimes think that YouTube creators or people in general, they lose that humanity and they don't think about the collateral consequences to those kids of saying, your dad's a murderer, your mom's a murderer, or you're a murderer, for God's sakes. Like, it's crazy. And now how are these kids supposed to pick up the pieces and try to salvage something of their childhood? It's very sad, extremely sad.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, and this stuff on YouTube will always be here for them to come in.
Exactly. There's no taking it back.
Watch.
Right. And it's like, once you've made it and you have now put it on video or in writing in any way, it's really hard to come back from that. And the mental health effects that it can have on the family and the extended family, it could be devastating, probably are devastating. And
into the jury pool.
Yeah, for sure. And, so you're tainting your jury pool. Now what? You're going to drag this out longer to have to find a jury that can hear the case. And in the public court, right, you've already convicted this person. And whether they're found not guilty or guilty, the public has spoken. If enough of us on YouTube say that you're guilty, you must be guilty. That's a really frustrating thing.
Yeah,
it is.
Definitely.
Well, guys,
oh
my God, Natalie and I have like the longest live streams when we do stuff. Like,
do you?
So, like when we did our first one together, I like went on her channel. I was thinking like 45 minutes, maybe an hour.
Oh,
It was
God.
2.5 hours in, and we're still like talking, and
Right?
it was so fun. Like, I don't know if anybody's ever gonna watch this, but I'm really
That's how me and her get when we get to talking about a
Yeah.
case. Yeah.
Yep. So, I think the true crime community, there is a lot of value to it. And again, just bringing notoriety to cases so that people don't forget that this case has happened, and, seeking justice for the victims. But we have to not persecute people along the way.
Right.
So,
they've actually referred to this. One person had actually referred to this girl as a cash cow. Like, that's how crazy it's kind of gotten. It's gotten too much to be too much.
Yeah.
And obviously meaning YouTube, that all you have to do is talk about her, use the hashtag, and make
well, and that's what's
it's terrible.
That type of mentality just breeds the dirty underside of these, where it's like, all I got to do is mention it, say the name. I could make up anything and people are going to listen. It's like, that's not ethical way to do it, and having a YouTube channel myself now, and not in a million years would I've been like, hey, I'm going to start a YouTube channel.
I know, right?
So weird.
Trying to get enough money to buy a gym for her kiddos.
Yeah, I would love. Oh my God, if we could make an auxiliary gym. My voice is like gone too. I was like screaming for the game, and I look at my friend. I'm like, I have to do a live stream in like a half an hour. I hope I have a voice. So it's a little extra deep today, but it's. I try to make it more educational. Obviously, there's some entertainment value with my animals, but the legal part of it, I'm not going for sensationalism or entertainment. It's like, look, there are legal issues that come up, or certain areas of the law that people want to know about. So, some of my stuff is probably boring for people. That's okay. Like, if it helps somebody navigate through landlord-tenant law or estate planning or a child custody case, I feel like, it at least it can maybe help a few people. So
I loved, I don't know if it was your last live or the one before, but one of your last lives, you were going through, like, with the United Way.
Yeah.
Oh my God. I was watching that and my eyes were tearing up, because it was like, oh my God. I mean, like, I already knew you had a heart, but it was like,
it's in there like somewhere.
A prosecutor with a heart. I mean, like,
true.
You could tell that the community, the people, your town means something to you.
It does.
And you don't see that all the time. Well, and it's just nice.
People get so wrapped up in like their own lives and their own things. And honestly, like with the United Way, like I tell Kelly, the executive director, I'm like, I always thought it was like sending money to like the poor in Africa, United Way or something. I didn't ever think of it as a completely local thing. And it is. And looking at the number of agencies that work with the United Way. So it's like, I didn't know some of these existed. And again, this is where YouTube comes in to get this out on a platform that can hopefully help people. Yet not probably 99% of the people that are watching it are not in St. Joseph County, but it's applicable in their own counties. Or if they don't have it, hey, there's this thing that we can do. Or if you have a nonprofit that you're running, go check with your local United Way, get your funding through that. My family, my husband and kids and I were the chair family of the United Way right before the pandemic, honestly. Oh God, I said the word. Sorry, Paneria. We were able to raise through being the honorary chairs and doing the events and just hustling, man, just hustling, over $1 million. And in a county where we have such a small population, the amount of giving that came from this county. And each year they've been, it started out, if you look back, I'm sure Kelly on the website has like the years, but it was like, okay, 10 years ago it was like $250,000. Holy cow, we raised $250,000 for this small community. And it has grown and grown and grown. And the year that we did it, when the board set a goal of $1 million, I'm like, Kelly, it's like $1 million. She's like, well, we did over $1 million last year. We were barely over, but like, okay, I love a good challenge, right? So that's when we're like, we want to do this and we want to do that. And we started, our kind of baby was a yards, barns, and brews. So it was this event at our local fairgrounds where we had live band. We had a local winery and brewery that had drinks, and then it was like a home and garden expo kind of thing. And so there was like the plant sale and vendors, and we made money on it. And I was like, this is cool. See, Cal, we can do this. And so being a part of that, it means something, because that money, I know that $1 million that we helped raise is being used right in our county. And it's not like, not that it's not good to have nationwide or worldwide help, but we have so much going on in our own small area that if I donate $100 to a nationwide thing, I may not know where it's going, right? It's the overhead costs, it's this, it's that. Whereas in the local scheme of things, I know it's going to our schools, to our sports programs, to all of the places that are making a direct impact on our community. So, if each of us in our own small community get involved and care, it's one of those things where I want to bring, especially like economic differences, right? When those kids go to school, I don't want it to be like the haves and the have-nots. And I feel really good about our school district where it doesn't matter. We do so much in our school district to make sure that the kids they feel like that they're all on an even playing ground when they walk into that school. I'm just really very proud of our community and how we do things. So hopefully others are doing the same thing, and
Yeah, but it's cool. It's really cool.
It is. And, domestic assault services, they had me as their speaker at their candlelight vigil in October. And it's where they read the names of all of the victims of domestic violence in our county. And the list has grown by a few, and it's really sad. And again, it's that reminder of what can I do in my job, in my life, to help stop that cycle. And again, it starts young with kids too, parents getting involved in the school and making sure that if kids are disclosing something to you, you're taking it seriously and you're getting that information to the right people so that they don't have to go home and live in fear. And it's hard, you want to be like, hey, everything is roses and daisies and beautiful around, but it's that ugly underworld that we have to deal with at times.
So let me ask you this: how many people ask you about Judge Middleton?
Oh,
like to work
a
with
lot.
He's such a sweetie.
He is. It's just funny because it's like I've been practicing in his court for like 14 years, right? And he literally is the same now, other than the long hair, like that he always was. He's always made jokes or been like, are you so-and-so's? I know your grandma, or like whatever. Like he just trivia. I mean, the man is like a trivia maniac. I played on a trivia team with him once when it was like the Three Rivers Chamber of Commerce like trivia thing, and it was actually Luke Knopfsinger, Dave Marvin, Judge, Kevin Kane, who works at the courthouse, my friend Dara, I came up with the last one, like it was an Imagine Dragons thing, like, and I barely even know much about Imagine Dragons. Like, I think it's this, and it was right. I was so proud of myself, but like the rest of the time, Judge was totally running that for us. So, but yeah, he's a really interesting individual.
Yeah.
And honestly, our entire field of judges and attorneys are really good. When I was young and practicing, and kind of like you take cases wherever you can get somebody to give you their money to take their case. I practiced in a lot of different counties, and there is something very unique about St. Joseph County and the attorneys and judges in it. And I wouldn't want to be anywhere else. And it's been a very rewarding career. And if it ended tomorrow, I would feel like that was a damn good run. So, I mean, hopefully it doesn't end tomorrow.
Yeah,
tomorrow.
It's just right. It's just really neat his courtroom. I mean, when everybody was on lockdown, that's what you did. You watched Judge Middleton. Well, and you know what went viral, the one where you go down.
I did not wake up that day thinking I would go viral. I mean, I'm glad I had my hair done that day.
I know. Oh yeah.
Glad I did my hair and makeup that day and just throw it in a ponytail. And now there's like the pressure to like look nice, because now it's not just like my friends at court seeing me. It's like, oh,
now you can't wear just a blazer with a bikini under it.
I know, right? Don't do that ever. When you're in Florida, maybe. But yeah, so that was surreal. The whole thing is still surreal. Like the fact that, again, that I have a YouTube page. Like my kids like, I'm a YouTube creator. I'm like, what is that? Like play video games on? People watch you play video games? Like, yeah. Like, it's not my thing.
People do.
Seeing all of the different types of YouTube channels and creators, like, oh, this is actually kind of fun. Like, I like this. It's nice to have people care about what you do and want to learn more about things. So, if you want to learn how to shear sheep, just on my channel, Danny, you can shear sheep. You can come down and visit with me and, play with the babies. As soon as the baby goats get here, it's all game on, man. I tell you, I might have to just dedicate a cell phone and a live stream to the babies. They're so cute. So
Goats live 24/7.
I know, right? I feel like I could probably make that work. I might have to get one of those. If I have better Wi-Fi at my house, I'd be on it. So maybe soon. We'll see.
Does Judge Middleton watch your channel?
I don't know if he does. Like, I think he closet does, because so I feel like
he's funny.
Right,
He's so
personable.
Well, yeah, but
that's how
but by the book, like the by the book, and even with the gifts, he wasn't comfortable accepting gifts. Oh my God, he's like with the remember with the coffee book. I don't drink coffee, but thank you. But please don't,
please stop sending gifts. And that's why it's like, yeah, like in private practice, like if people would get me a gift, like, oh, that's so cool, thank you. And now it's like, if they get you a gift, it's like, oh, I have to like disclose this. Wait, was it because I'm a prosecutor? But I don't prosecute you. You live out in like Oklahoma or something.
Yeah.
Speaking of which, if T-Bone is watching this, I think the kids accidentally threw away the letter. Let me reverse for a second. So there is a YouTube member, is that what we call him? Subscriber. He goes by T-Bone, and he's out in Oklahoma, and he watched my shearing a sheep video, right? So this has nothing to do with me being a prosecutor, okay? Shearing the sheep video, and he said, hey, I have something that I think you would really like. And you're always like, uh-oh, like,
right.
So gave him my address, it's like PO box or whatever. And was it a few weeks later, this big box shows up in my house, and it's like all taped shut, and like, the shipping thing, and like, I don't know anybody in Oklahoma. Like, all right, so was it Broken Arrow, Oklahoma or something? Anyway, I'm opening it up and I'm thinking, oh Jesus, I hope this isn't like a freaking clown mask or something. Where like like jumps out at you. Like, I don't know. And I open it up and it's this black case. What the hell is this? It looks like a gun case, kind of. I'm like, okay,
Oh
this is
my
like,
God.
well, there was a letter. So I opened the letter and started reading it. And it's the sweetest letter. T-Bone, if you're watching this, you are the sweetest thing ever. And it's this letter about how he used to have animals. He had alpacas, and Santa had brought him this gift. And unfortunately, due to situations with their things on their farm, they had to get rid of the alpacas that spring, so he never got to use Santa's gift. So it's been for 10 years sitting in his garage, and when he saw my video, he knew that I would put this to good use, or if I didn't use it, I would donate it to like 4-H or something. And I open it up, and I kid you not, it's a brand new set of clipping shears, like $300. It was the kindest gift and the most thoughtful, and I wanted to send him something to thank him. And then one of the kids, like, the letter is not like, oh my God, I need to find you. T-Bone, where are you? So, yeah. And it's super sweet because my sister and I both have kids in 4-H, and we have one set of shears. They're expensive, right? So we would have to like, okay, are you shearing sheep tonight? Yeah, I'm going to do them tonight. And then it's like, crap, now I got to wait and I got to wash mine and do them tomorrow. And then if she didn't do them, like, come on, Beth, like I need to get my sheep done. So now we each have a set, and we can help our other kids in the club because we do like to help them, because it's not really a common thing to have clippers at your house. So honestly, one of the sweetest things that I've had. And I get a lot of nice like letters and cards, which is also really, and emails that are really cool. So that human connection, I feel that's the best thing to come out of this whole situation is having that human connection. And when somebody says, I want my daughter to grow up and be like you, it's like, it's so sweet. Like, I don't know. It's just,
I know. I remember earlier you said like that's something you want to take pride in, is like being a mentor to younger girls. And I was like, maybe I could show my daughters. My daughter.
Like, if somebody wants to come do like a job shadowing thing, I try everything in my power to make it happen. And you know, going and talking to kids at the schools about things. And we're supposed to be going around at some point and giving kind of a, hey, this is what you kids could get in trouble for at this age. So don't do these things unless you want to spend your senior year summer in jail. So, you know, those uncomfortable talks, but kids need to hear it. And coming from somebody other than your parent sometimes has a little more value to it. But also like suicide prevention, super important. We've had a lot of teen suicides. When I say a lot, more than I would like none, right? And so United Way has a suicide prevention task force. And so they've been really active in trying to get in with the young folks and make them understand that the things that they're going through right now are temporary, and there are people that can help them and people that understand them, and that they're not alone. So it's very near and dear to my heart with some, you know, friends that have been through that situation. And so again, doing everything that you can where you are in your community and having that impact. And now with the YouTube channel and having a worldwide following, it hopefully spreads the word of positivity and self-care. And it's okay to not be okay sometimes, but you know, you've got to reach out to someone.
And I know it is, because I was looking at your comments and people were saying, you know, between you and Judge Middleton, and just from me watching you in the past couple of days since Terry told me about y'all, I got like a renewed hope for the justice system, because especially when you're in the true crime community and you see some of the things that go down, and you could become discouraged and feel like it's just broken and pointless and you're just a drop in the sea. But after watching y'all's live today and y'all at work, I could feel his compassion for the people as individuals and not just looking at what they've done.
Right.
And so
and
it is making a difference what y'all are
you know,
doing.
I feel like, oh, you're too soft. Or sometimes like,
Yeah.
and other times like, whoa, God, bulldog, right? Like, I don't know. It's hard because, you know, as prosecutors, we generally know more about the case than anybody, you know, and there are times where maybe it looks like I'm being unreasonably unfair to someone, but there's a damn good reason. If I'm asking for something, it's not because I just feel like I'm having a bad day or something. And if I'm giving grace to someone, there's a good reason. And it breaks my heart to see people that are coming out of the ashes and doing okay and then just take a total nosedive. But at some point, there we have to have consequences for people's actions or chaos ensues. So, you know, my mom calls me the eternal optimist, but being an eternal optimist prosecutor can kind of lead you like to burn sometimes. But yeah, definitely, you know, just locking people up isn't the answer always. Sometimes.
Yeah.
So,
and also with the internet, people just these days, I feel like they're so entitled to just know everything in a case, and that's not the way it works.
Right. So it's, you know, there's so many opportunities for defendants to rehabilitate themselves, and when they don't avail themselves to that, it's kind of their own fault, right? But I also have to look at the socioeconomic background, and not everybody is savvy or comfortable with reaching out for help. But if you don't do it, you're going to get burned. And, you know, when you see like a repeat DUI offender that, you know, this incident happened 6 months ago and you're coming in here wanting a deal, what the hell have you been doing for 6 months? Like, done any treatment? Done a rehab? Gone to AA? Nothing? Like, how remorseful really are you then? And as a defense practitioner, I had like my whole like spiel down, like, okay, you got a DUI. I don't care if you don't think you have a problem, and I'm not saying you have a problem, but you need to go get a substance abuse assessment because this is how it works. And I had a guy fire me. He's like, you want me to go to a substance abuse assessment? Yeah, I'm not saying you have an alcohol problem, but dude, you had like 2. And I didn't say it in that way, but like, look, this is your second one in a short order. You need to go get an assessment and be honest with them about how much you're drinking, when you're drinking, what's going on. Maybe it was just like a lapse in judgment twice in a short period of time. And he was so offended by it. Like, okay, I guess we're not going to work out here. So here's your money back and good luck. And yeah, he crashed and burned as far as like getting any treatment. But, you know, you like with any job, you got to know the area that you're practicing in and what the judge is expecting and how sentencing works. And if you're going to do a good job in defense, you got to know what you're doing.
Yeah. No, I always like, you've just reminded me of Judge Middleton's "Don't drive."
Stop driving a car. Like, yeah, like or stop driving the damn car. Like, you just like cringe. When you're in the defense attorney, you're like, why did you do this? Or, I like hate clients.
Yeah, I mean, it's still not like he's yelling. I mean, but he's letting you know, stop driving the damn car.
Yeah, and I found that with all of our judges, if you own it and you're honest about it, things are going to be a better outcome for you. Yeah. But people, it's a natural tendency to minimize. It's like, look, that ain't going to get you very far. So, and I always like cringe when it's like, well, is there anything you'd like to say? And they're like, no. At least say sorry to the victim if there's a victim, or at least say, anything.
Right.
Muster up one apology. Like
Yeah.
the other day, and I was just like waiting. It was a DV type case. Like, what? Sorry. Oh, what? No, not a sorry. And I'm gonna be like, the least you could do was say sorry to the victim.
Right.
Because if you didn't, then you're probably not sorry. So,
yeah.
But, I was like, okay, give them some grace. Like, maybe they clammed up. Like, I don't want to say anything. Like, I don't want to say the wrong thing. I'm going to say nothing. Like, no, I think my attorney said it all. But, yeah.
It's funny you bring DWIs up because the dad of the missing girl, I mean, everybody deals with grief their own way, but he actually got a DWI and is actually in jail right now.
No shit.
Was it his second offense, Terry?
No,
Here
it was
he was on for
his third.
Is it a felony for a third down there?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
But I don't think he got a felony charge because he got, remember the 11 months and 29 days?
Was for the possession of a gun. Yeah.
Oh, that's right. That's right.
That's what he got his violation for. He was
The
on
other one
probation.
That's right.
And again, the amount of stress and pressure he's probably under, even if he had nothing to do with his daughter's disappearance, that stress and pressure that is put upon him. Yeah. I mean, substance abuse and drowning your sorrows and then making poor choices to drive. It's still not right, but you got to have some compassion for the guy. Again, if he had nothing to do with his daughter's disappearance, this is a man who's grieving, and while grieving, being torn apart in the media or social media or whatever you want to call it.
They told him to do the sentence like 11 months and 29 days or 9 days, something like that, and a program. I'm not sure which one it is, but had he taken that program before his court date, would the judge have maybe gave him a lesser time? Or
I mean, I'm not sure like the circumstance on that. So with ours, so when I was in defense and I had a driving while intoxicated, it was like, look, if you go get your substance abuse assessment and follow the recommendations of it, if it recommends, we have certain classes, like one is called Prime for Life. So it's a substance abuse class and it's like once a week for 6 or 8 weeks or whatever. If it recommends that you take the National Highway Traffic Safety course, which is like the bare minimum that they recommend for anybody that is in a DUI situation, where it's like a 4-hour class on a Saturday and you pay your $50 or whatever and go. Or if they recommend that you do a victim impact panel where it's, a couple hours, you are listening to people talk about how drunk driving has affected their lives. If you do those things, and then by the time you come into your sentencing, judge is like, well, I mean, you've done everything that I would have wanted you to do on a probation. So I'm going to sentence you to fines and costs and your 1-day jail that you did, credit 1 day. And I hope to not ever see you in here again. Whereas, the goals of probation are to get you the services. So if you haven't done the classes, you haven't sought an assessment, you haven't addressed any issues that you might have, maybe mental health issues, maybe economic issues like not having a job or not having your, GED or diploma, Bob. Yes.
Right.
For God's sakes, let's pretend like we're in court, Bob.
Take off that hat.
Yeah, take off your hat and pretend like we're in court. So if you've done all of those things, then probation isn't going to do anything for you other than monitor you, babysit you for 6 months, 3 months, 12 months, whatever. So, I was successful in having clients that just got fines and costs and went on their way. But they put in the legwork ahead of time and they didn't just sit back waiting. Well, gee, I wonder what I should do. It's like, no, I told you what to do. Either I can't go to AA for you. So either do it or you're going to be ordered to do it while having a probation agent for the next 6 months. So
yeah, because he got I think it was 180 days if he goes through the program.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So
well,
he does a program.
We have a program that is a probation center that is like not a jail, but a restricted environment where it's, I want to say it's a 4 month, maybe it's a 6 month or 4 month program, but it's like a dormitory type situation, but there are substance abuse classes and maybe parenting classes if that's what you need. You have to check in, check out, you get breathalyzed, there are drug tests, like you have to go get a job, you can't just lay around all day. I had someone tell me not too long ago that this young individual that they're trying to help out, he loves jail. What do you mean he loves jail? He loves it. He gets 3 meals a day. He doesn't have to live on the streets. He can lay around all day and nobody makes him do anything. He's like, it's the life.
There's people like that. Oh, yeah.
Okay, let's maybe find a way to motivate this guy. So, unfortunately, there are times where it's like jail's a better alternative than the real life outside. And I would like to hope that we can make people's lives more appealing outside of jail than saying, you know what, I'd rather just be in jail so that I have somewhere to go. But well, guys, we've not made it quite as long as Natalie and I did, but I can hang in there for another 20 minutes if you want record.
See, Texas, we have drug court for that, for everybody who, have done something that has to do with just drugs or substances in any kind. So they have a way to help you help yourself, so to say, instead of just throwing you straight in jail. And that is a plus here in Texas.
Yeah, and so we have some drug court alternatives here as well. And Judge Middleton's, I don't know, does he still run sobriety court on YouTube? Or
yeah, well, I know he did. I was going to mention that.
While. I mean,
I was surprised that he would do that online.
Every other Tuesday. So I don't know if he's still doing those or not. But I mean, it's still running. He still got the program. But that one is for mostly second time or more driving while intoxicated. He does try sometimes to put people who have methamphetamine or other substance abuse charges in there, but he, as he would say, hasn't been super successful in rehabilitating them. So, but the DUI ones in Michigan, if you have 2 alcohol related driving incidents within a 7-year period, you're automatically revoked for your license. I think it's for 5 years. And then you can apply to the state and go through like an administrative law judge process. But unless you show significant involvement in treatment, like weekly, multi-weekly AA, good substance abuse assessment, all these other things, letters from the community, it's really freaking hard to get your license back. If you are in sobriety court, though, the sobriety court program is approved by the state of Michigan that after the first, I think it's 60 days in the program, if you have followed the sobriety court rules, you can get granted a restricted license to be able to drive to and from work and in the course of employment and treatment and that sort of thing, which is a huge, huge, huge carrot to hang in front of people in a rural community where if you don't have wheels, you don't have a way to get there. So that is our one program. But the other is an adult drug treatment court. And before, when Judge Stutzman, our circuit court judge who handles the criminal cases, when he was streaming back at the beginning of all of this, he would have his adult drug treatment court on there. And that one is grant funded, but you have to have special considerations where you plead straight up as charged with a habitual offender notice or a drug double or however many charges it is. And if you successfully complete adult drug treatment court, all of them get dismissed. So that's a humongous benefit. But it's strict, and people that have these issues like socioeconomic issues, they struggle. But you know what? They have peer support people, they have like a social worker type thing,
Right.
substance abuse. You meet weekly with the judge and the team, and they're there for you. And the problem is, like Judge Stutzman would say, there is no magic pill, there is no magic wand, there is no magic program.
Right.
It comes down to you got to do it. And if you don't change the people, places, and things, you aren't going to be successful. And so they preach it hard to you. And we have had some really good success stories come out of that ADTC. We call it ADTC, Adult Drug Treatment Court.
Oh, cool.
The other one that is very similar and is kind of run the same manner is Swift and Sure Sanctions Probation. So we call it Swift and Sure for short. But that one's a little different. It has less restrictive requirements to get into it. Like with ADTC, you can't have like assaultive crimes or weapons crimes on your criminal history, even a charge of it. I think CSCs you can't have either. But even to be charged with it, even if you're not convicted of it, if it's charged, they could exclude you. But for Swift and Sure, they can take you under certain circumstances, even with having those on there. So Swift and Sure, though, you don't get your case dismissed at the end if you successfully complete it, but you don't go to prison as long as you successfully complete it.
There you go. Yeah.
So there's that positive, right? So Swift and Sure is only for people that at sentencing on their felony are looking at prison time. So if you are looking at a local sanction, you're not going to get Swift and Sure. But if we have people that are looking at 36, 48, 72 months on the minimum in Department of Corrections, and if they get into the Swift and Sure program, they don't serve it. And if they do what they're supposed to do and they stay clean and they stay out of trouble and they're working, at the end of the probation case, the charges are still on your record, but you don't go to prison. So that is a big carrot to hang.
Definitely is. Well, I want to thank you to Emily. Thank you, Emily, for the
Thank you, Emily.
And let me see. Busted Rims. Are you the viral
I think I just that. I think I just look like her. I don't know. We're very similar.
That's funny.
Funny. Yeah. I've seen that.
I mean,
that is so
I don't get recognized many places, guys. So my kids are like, "Are you YouTube famous?" Like, I don't think so, but
but that one was good. That was for sure.
Yeah,
because I think like when the Zoom, I've been wanting to say this, when the Pandora's box.
Good one. I like that.
Yeah.
When that started, and then Zoom, and that was like the first incident that we saw, like with the DV, and that was the one, right, that went viral. And where you see the cop taking him away and everything, and it was like
it was so
Debbie
surreal. Like it's funny because the officer, like, it's just funny watching the comments on it, right? Like, just dying laughing. They're like, is Officer Edgington a cardboard cutout? He's so like, gosh, they think you're a cardboard cutout. Like, why do they have a bailiff in Zoom court? I'm like, no, he's a witness. Like, it was just funny, the comments. It was sweet. And I mean, literally like 7 million TikTok views. Like, what? Wow. Like, that's so insane. So they're like laughing about it. Like, I know this is bizarre. Like, and then to have it in languages that I have no idea what they even are. And oh God, some of the comments, like my girlfriends would like screenshot comments off of different like websites. And like, look at this comment. Like, some of them were so hilarious that like, but
that was big. I mean, it's, you wonder how often stuff like that happens.
Oh yeah.
But
I would say so. Obviously, I don't talk about like specific cases, but
Yeah.
in general terms, I can say that there was a case months after that where I was preparing for a preliminary exam on a DV strangulation case where strangulation DV is a felony, and they changed that statute only a few years ago. Really, it was before it was like a DV is a DV. It's a 93-day max misdemeanor if it's your first offense, a 1-year max if it's your second offense,
Wow.
and a 5-year felony if it's your third offense. So when DV strangulation came as a, hey, if there's an impeding of the airway of somebody, even if it's for a moment, then it's a more serious felony than just a simple DV. So it's one of those things where it's like, he grabbed you on the neck. Next question, were you able to breathe normally? And we have to like make sure our officers are asking those follow-up questions.
Right.
But in this case, it was to the point where she had lost control and urinated herself, which
Oh my God.
later is like, you are on the brink of death if it's that bad that you lose that control. And she I called and talked to her ahead of the preliminary exam. So I mean, just like in general, when a police report is taken, like police are called to the scene, report is taken, they then, if there's enough probable cause, can arrest the person at the time, or they send it to us if the person is taken off and they can't find them, whatever. They send it as a warrant request. We review it. Yep, we're authorizing charges. Warrant goes out. Person gets arrested, gets arraigned, maybe bonds out. In this case, the person did bond out. Again, this is during that pancake situation where people were just like, bonds. So he is out, and I call her the day before the preliminary exam because timeline wise, once like he's arraigned, within 14 days we got to have the preliminary exam conference. Okay, he wants a prelim. He probably thinks she's not going to testify. So then I got 1 week from pre-exam conference to prelim. Got to call my witness, make sure she gets subpoenaed, talk to her. Hey, these are the questions I'm going to ask. This is how it goes. Do you have any questions of me? Whatever. So I call her, and I finally get a hold of her on Monday night, and the prelim is the next Tuesday in the afternoon. And she's talking to me, and she's like, I don't want to testify. And she didn't tell me it didn't happen, right? But she's like, I just don't wanna. I'm like, all wishy-washy. I'm like Judge Middleton says, it ain't a birthday party invitation. A subpoena means you got to be there. I'm like, I want to see you with my eyes. At this point, we're doing them still completely by Zoom. I said, I'll give you a Zoom link and we're going to talk by Zoom because I want to look at you and I want you to see me and me to see you and we'll talk about it. But, call me tomorrow via Zoom at 12:30, whatever. She's like, okay. So I half expected her to try to bail on me, right? But she logs into Zoom and is talking to me. And I say to her, I'm like, all right, so what's the deal? And she's like, he was sitting next to me in the car when you called me last night. I said, oh. And I'm like, so when we were talking and you said you didn't want to testify, she's like, yeah, he was sitting there and he's been telling me all week how much he loves me and how he doesn't want me to
love
testify.
bombing.
Love bomb time. Mm-hmm. And I said, okay. I said, you realize that, you were seriously in danger with this situation. And she's like, I know. And I said, we're doing this prelim. And she's like, okay, and you can't lie. I need you to tell me the truth. Whatever happened, good, bad, or otherwise, you just got to tell the truth. And she's like, okay. So we, 1:00 rolls around. And the defense attorney is like, oh, is your witness here? Well, yes, she is. She's ready on Zoom. He's like, wait, she's going to testify? Yep. Oh, we'll waive then. I'm like, no, I'm not letting you waive because we as prosecutors can demand to have the prelim. So I was like, no, we're not waiving. We're having it. So we did the prelim and the look on that person's face was very intimidating. He would like stand up and be like over the camera, and like,
oh my God.
but I would have it where if witnesses are testifying, like put it on active speaker mode when you're testifying so that you see me and I see you, and that's all you have to see. It's me and you. And it did make it easier for certain people to not have to stare at the other person trying to intimidate them. And yeah, he was at the end of the prelim, because she testified, and I was scared to death that something was going to happen to her, and I have no control over it. We all shut off our cameras. Case is done. I don't know if he's outside her door, if he's going to come find her that night, and it's really hard to sleep when those things are going on. And he was ordered at the end of the prelim. The judge reassessed his bond and said, "I'm going to increase your bond. You need to go turn yourself into the jail and get reprocessed, and you can bond out again, but you got to put up more money." He skated. It took months before I think they finally found him. So it's just Zoom can be a blessing and a curse with things like that. You asked me questions on here. How often does the woman get in trouble when the bond or PPO is violated? So I'm not going to say woman because it is the opposite too. So the protected person, we'll say, right? So how often do they get in trouble if they violate the bond? They don't. And if the PPO is protecting them, they don't get in trouble per se. Does that mean, though, that their PPO, which is a civil action, not a criminal action, so a PPO is totally separate from any criminal case. Sometimes criminal cases have a PPO kind of in the side there, but if they are allowing it to be violated, it definitely gives the person that they have it against a reason to file a motion to terminate it and say, look, she or he has been letting me come over and stay, and they're obviously not scared if they're letting me do that. So, as far as bond conditions are to the defendant. So, and we get this where it's like defendant has a bond condition of no contact, but the victim is calling them and be like, oh, I'm so sorry, or oh, I want this, or oh, I want that. The victim doesn't get in trouble for that. Does it affect how we look at the case? Absolutely. But again, the psychology of crimes and victims and defendants is very complicated. And it's not a like, oh, well, you're violating the bond, so I'm not going to pursue your case. It's not like that at all.
No.
Yeah, one of the first cases we covered together was Kiana Cole, and she was 5 months pregnant. Her boyfriend made her lose the baby, and he was charged with murder and the assault on her. And then a day or two before her deposition, she disappeared. And Terry found a search and rescue, that guy that I was telling you about earlier that told them where to find Brian Laundrie. We got him to go and search for her. Her family had been wanting the cops to search this one park for like years. And Terry found him, and he had this new little doohickey he was wanting to try out and everything. And he went and searched the park finally for the family. And, so they didn't find her, though. They're still looking for her.
Wow, that is crazy.
Sad case.
Oh, and that's the thing is like sometimes you feel like you're doing more harm than good when you are trying to prosecute a case where the victim is recanting, or not recanting, but changing their decision to cooperate with you and trying to decide, do I drag you across the finish line, or do I let this go and risk you being harmed or killed in the process? And I'm sure someday it's going to come back to haunt me, but you just try to do the best job that you can and avoid those tragedies. So.
Do all states have the option to pick up a DV case if they feel the need to, or is
So I've never practiced in any other state, but I believe that yes, so it's not victim versus defendant. It's state of Michigan versus defendant. Victim is our main complaining witness, right? But in Michigan, we have specific hearsay exceptions and rules of evidence that can allow us to bring in extrinsic evidence that says, okay, here's the 911 call the night that it happened, and this is what she said or he said. All right, so if they get on the stand today and say something different, I can impeach them with that evidence and I can bring it in through the officer. Now, there's rules about when and how you can use it, but in general, say it's a typical domestic violence incident and the first responding officer, it's immediately after the incident has happened. The person is still under the stress of the event and they're upset or crying or distressed and they're saying these things. That's how we can get by people saying, well, it wasn't that bad. I'm like, well, let's play what you said to the officer the night of when it was more fresh in your mind. And again, I don't want to be unkind to the victims because their incident, their trauma, it's not ours to share. It's their story to share. But when it comes to the greater good of making sure that they're protected and that the next person down the line that defendant may come in contact with is protected and that the defendant is given the opportunity to have meaningful rehabilitation for whatever the issue is, we have to go forward with cases at times, even if people are hesitant or unwilling.
And that is a good thing. I say that from experience. At one point, I had let somebody move in, and he was abusive, and I guess I must have called the police. I called the police a couple of times, and with full intentions of pressing charges and not having anything to do with them again. But then you get, that begging and pleading and
the guilt and oh my God, your love bombing.
What's going to happen?
I can't have a job.
The love bombing wasn't even an issue for me because I didn't care that way. It was more, what's going to happen to me? I have nowhere to go and this and that. And, I just would feel bad.
Well, and abusive individuals can be extremely manipulative and they can turn it around on you or gaslight you or, all of those things that you think that you're the one that's in the wrong, that you must have done something to trigger this or it wasn't as bad as what you're saying it is. And
what happened the second time was I had met with I think I met with the assistant state attorney, both occasions. The second time he wanted to go ahead without me. And, of course I didn't want them to, they were really trying to get me. And he said, the only way I'll do it is if you go, there were like, we have what's called the Dawn Center here. And I guess wasn't aware of it, but they have group therapy type things for domestic violence. And I think he wanted me to go 5 times, but I went once. But the thing was, that turned things around because he told me, he said, if any of this ever comes before my desk again, I'm doing it with or without you. And I did call again. And I knew that time it was being done because I never would have made that call. Actually, I was at the Dawn Center. I hadn't been there in all this time. it happened to be a Tuesday because that's when they would meet, that he wasn't letting me leave the house. And I mean, like I had bruises just on my arm because, of getting out. And so I wasn't coming back in until he was gone. So I waited all day long to go to that meeting. And I half laughed because I didn't know what to do. But I think I did, but I didn't. I needed somebody to tell me. So here I am saying to, the lady who's heading this thing, well, what would you do? And I meant it like seriously, but then I had to laugh because it's like, well, of course you're going to tell me. Okay, let's do it. But like I said, I knew what he said that time, so the next morning, like really early, I went down to get my PPO. That is the protective order, right?
Yeah. Personal protection.
Okay. After I got that, I went up to his office. He wasn't there, but the lady who was like his assistant was there. And, I told her that, it had happened again. And they already knew. And I said to her, I said, I want to thank you. And I said, and I wanted to thank Mike. So please pass this on. I just want to thank you guys for looking out for me when I wasn't looking out for myself. Mm-hmm. And she even called me later that day. She said, when Mike came in, I told him you were here. And he said, let me guess, she wants me to drop it. And I was like, no, it's the other way around. So
yeah. And
here's a good question from the chat, real quick. They said, do you find that drugs or alcohol are always involved in DV cases?
Not always.
In this case, zero in what I'm talking about. Zero.
And
interesting.
I think that it can sometimes just be mental health and just that power and control, and mm-hmm. You want to be able to justify it in your mind by saying, my loved one wouldn't do this unless there were drugs or alcohol involved or a mental health issue involved. And I would say most of the time there's one of the three or a combination of the three, but there's also sometimes where people just snap and, everybody has their breaking point. And there are DV cases that come in that are not as serious where, it's like, look, you can tell that it was a boiling point and maybe it was a shove to get, like, you're in each other's faces and you're screaming and you shove the person to get them away or you smack them on the face because you're just like so upset. It still doesn't make it right. Is it technically a DV? Yeah, it is. But if it isn't a pattern and the parties seek their own counseling, and are we going to do more damage to this family by inserting the state than what good is going to come out of it with the two of them doing a marital counseling or individual counseling or child protective services being involved and assisting. And there are times that we don't end up charging because it would probably be more trauma to this relationship and the family than what good it could bring. But it's a tough call. Those judgment calls are tough.
Like Natalie said, everybody just needs to keep their hands to themselves.
Your hands to yourself. No problem. So, yeah.
Another one from Bob. So what about when kids find out they can get mom or dad in trouble with the law? Happened to my father-in-law.
You mean like rightfully so? Or like if I say this, it's going to get my family? So, I mean, kids can be manipulative too, right? But I also kids know right from wrong, and there's been situations where it's the kids that are the ones calling and saying, this is happening in my house and I can't stand it anymore. I don't want to live like this anymore. It's not right. And that makes it really hard because with any case, you have to have witnesses to prove what has happened. And if you're relying on a 10, 12, 14-year-old to be your primary witness and the parents, whichever one is the victim, is not being super cooperative, it's just so hard because that kid has finally found the courage to call for help. And if we don't follow through, what's going to happen to that kid when we hang up the phone or the door is closed and the police go on their way? And it's very scary because not every parent is like, thank you for intervening and bringing this to the attention. That would probably be the much minority rather than the, you're going to get it now. Look what you've done to our family. Look what you've done to your mother, your father, and this is going to ruin our lives. And again, that's where intervention with youth, where you can explain to them that your parents aren't horrible, evil people, but they're making bad choices. And we need to intervene so that this doesn't continue. And again, we can't be with them 24/7. And that part of the job is very frustrating. The worry that you have for what goes on when the court hearing is over. So. Can we end on a good note, guys? We've made it longer than Natalie did. 2 hours like a marathon. I gotta go home.
I know.
Kids don't have school tomorrow, at least, so they're probably staying up waiting for me. I'm like, did you guys do chores yet, or do I have to go feed my animals? So.
Yeah, I guess I was stolen from your Ty. Are you gonna do a chore video later?
Shoot, I mean, I feel like it's a little late now, but I got people from different time zones that watch and they want to see them babies. So I don't know. Pretty tired. It's been a long day, but
I know you're on the
camera
at work.
So I don't have anything too crazy. Judges headed out on vacation, so like my main court is following his. So I have some trials I need to prep for and things like that tomorrow, but it'll be a little slower day. So hopefully nothing too crazy, but.
Thank you so much.
This was fun.
Yeah. I hope y'all come back one day.
Yeah, soon.
Maybe we can all follow this this gun case with the older gentleman and then convene afterwards.
One. Yes, the pop. What do they call it? Like the
that's what we'll call it, the popcorn case.
Yeah, exactly. So,
and everybody make sure and go sub to Debbie Davis Said.
Yes.
Yeah, they
know what I said. You gotta go sub. Some of my
Yeah.
subscribers are having trouble because they can't like have the bell for notifications. But it turns out it was my OG subscribers, like when I was a For Kids channel or something. I didn't realize
really?
I didn't change it to not be for kids, which sounds so nefarious. But like,
Oh wow!
no, kids can watch my stuff. And usually
I know you'll watch Debbie.
Yeah, I mean the kids love the ghosts and things. So anyway, if you're an OG subscriber and you're having trouble with the bell, you got to unsubscribe and then resubscribe. To do it. So somebody tipped me off to that. So yay! Yeah. But my husband's calling. I'm like, where are you? Like, hey, don't worry, I'll be home soon. But anyways, yes, please reach out.
Thanks, Bob.
Check in, and I'll keep an eye on you guys too. And
definitely
really appreciate it. So
this was fun.
Yeah.
And Natalie Lawyer Chick. The links are in there.
Yes.
So
well, thank you guys.
Do that again.
Yes, she is a riot. So, and her kitty's tail all up in there.
That's funny.
So cute. I mean, the life of us, right? Like, this is how it is. So, all right, guys. Well, hey, have a great night. Awesome. I'll talk to you next time.
Thanks.
You too, Debbie. Thank you. Bye.
Bye. So, what do you think, everybody? I think it went really well. I think that was fun.
Like I told her, like, especially after watching her and Judge Middleton all day today, they really did, like, because sometimes in this true crime community, you can really get discouraged.
Thanks, Bob.
And so, thanks for being here, Bob. And watching them just for the last day or two. They really did make me realize there are good prosecutors and judges out there still. There are.
Yeah, I'm really, really glad that you
Thanks for being here, Sandy.
Watched him. Thank you. Oh, thanks, Sandy. Thank you, Bob. Make sure you get that subscribe on your way out. But I think it went really well. I love I absolutely love Debbie. You know, at first I wasn't sure how to take her because she seemed so tough. You're subbed to us?
Yay.
Thank you. I know he subbed to the other ones. But you know, she just seemed like she was so tough. But that first time, like she was talking about with being harsh and, you know, like giving grace. The first time I saw that, I was like, she knows what she's doing. She sees stuff that we don't see. Yeah. So when she's being harsh, it's because that other person's not doing anything.
You know, today,
they're not doing it. Right.
There was a person in the court, and I mean, I'm not even prosecutor, but he had like 16 previous charges. And I'm like, I'm no prosecutor, but I'm pretty sure this guy don't deserve any more chances. And right? You could see the judge like, and I was looking at Debbie, and she's like, she's like, yeah. Are you serious? She did say a little something. And he was like, yeah.
You know, it's funny you say that, Bob, because I caught her one day on a live, and she was, oh my God, to say a sweetheart is an understatement. She was whispering to these little lambs. I mean, she was just whispering to them like she was the mom. I mean, it was the sweetest thing. But yeah, she is a badass in court.
The Panera Bread did. It made us realize that these judges and prosecutors, they're humans too at the end of the day when they go home. You know, they have families too, and they have hearts. Like she said, it's in there somewhere.
Yeah. But you know what I really liked when I first started watching them was, you know, like the heart, but the respect. You know, they're not like even, you know, you were watching today. The guy, there was no question. Yes, Debbie has a little lamb.
She has a whole farm.
She has a whole farm of lambs.
Yeah.
And goats and all kinds of.
She's like, I want all of the animals.
Yeah.
Because somebody asked her, how many do you have? She was like, a lot.
Yeah. I don't think she could count. But yeah, I mean, like that guy today, you know, who was coming down on meth. Because I was saying, my husband and I were watching it, and I'm like, he is on something. I mean, like, of course, it didn't take a brain surgeon.
Yeah. He was falling asleep.
I thought it was kind of crappy for the judge to call the cops before he even got in court. But at the same time, I was like, don't drive suspended in St. Joe County. Oh, I didn't see that one. Did you see that one?
Yeah, that's the one. They ended the day with that. If it's the guy I think he's talking about.
Yeah, oh my God.
Yeah, he was arrested there in court.
You know what you got to see? You got to see when Judge Middleton calls somebody from the bench and gets them on the phone. Yeah, this is Judge Middleton. You're supposed to be here.
He kept picking that phone up and calling people. And I was like, oh my gosh, he's calling them right now.
I know, right from the bench. Oh my God. And, you know, he says he hardly ever gets a hold of somebody, but it's more often than, you know, he lets on, but it's so neat. She has, let's see, Bob knows everything about her. She has sheep, lambs, chicken, and bunnies right now. Wow. Oh, he loves it when he does that too.
Well, talk about being put on the
With
spot.
making the calls, you know. But could you imagine being the one, like, I love when he gets a hold of them because they're like, you know, he's like, yeah, this is Judge Middleton.
I'm like, no, it's not.
You know, it's like, sir, you know, yes, sir. What are you? Oh, was that today, sir? Sorry, sir. Oh my God, it's hysterical. It is hysterical when you could almost see them sitting up straight and fixing their tie. You know?
Yeah, this is true. Yeah. Yeah, the one dude had like 16 priors of driving offenses involved with driving on a suspended. And then the next one had like a warrant out for robbery, and he, same thing, driving on suspended. So he went to jail.
And I do like when he does, just don't drive a car. Oh, and he hates somebody who's got, like, whose license is suspended, and that's what they're there for. And what are they doing? They're right there in front in the driver's seat. He hates that. He's not even crazy about you being in the passenger seat, but do not be in the driver's seat.
Who is who?
I don't know. Oh, Danny, nobody. But who is this really?
But yeah, like for the lady who had the 16 priors, she was like, oh, he was like, where were you going? She was like, oh, I was taking my son to Taco Bell. And then she kept using her son as an excuse. And he was like, and he basically told her, like, that's not a good excuse, driving to Taco Bell and taking the son this place and that place. Just don't, how about you don't drive? Yeah, yeah. I was like, oh my God. Yeah.
Oh, that's right. He means when the judge calls.
Oh.
No, it ain't. Who is this really?
Yeah. There's no way if I picked up a phone and somebody's like, yeah, this is Judge Will, there's no way I'd believe it. There's just no way. Of course, I live in a big city where the judge ain't got time for that, but
it's like
that small town.
Fuck. That's funny.
Yeah.
But this was really good today.
Yeah, that was fun.
Well, the kid needs glasses.
Yeah, that's right. That was the other trip. I was so nervous at first, but once, especially with the way our conversation just kind of went from casual into, you know, the true crime community and stuff, it was real easy to just it was like we were just having a conversation. I was over here like all day watching every live I could of theirs, Googling questions. I was glued to my phone all day. Like literally Googling questions. What do you ask a defense attorney? What do you ask a prosecutor? Like I was so nervous. It was insane. But they were just so cool. I felt like I was talking to just friends that are interested in the justice system and crime. I loved it.
And who knows stuff about it. And that's one of the reasons I wanted both prosecutor and, you know,
to get a good idea of both sides of the aisle of the court.
Right. Yeah. Because, you know,
you did good.
Natalie said exactly what I thought. You know, for her, you know, it's like a no-brainer. She, you know, she'd be looking to get Don off, you know, because look, he's already been, you know, whatever.
I loved her answers. I was like, yes.
So maybe we can get clips and post little clips of stuff too, of the live.
Yeah.
You know,
to do with that case.
Guys. For the bad guys. You know, on the other side of the tracks.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Gotcha.
Bob, are you in Michigan? Are you in St. Joe County? Just wondering. You know, St. Joe County just seems I bet Deb don't bite even a person, let alone one's in person. Yeah. Yeah, she's really sweet. She's nice.
Yeah,
But
I can
yeah,
tell
she's good with the eye rolls.
that. Yeah, that's basically what I was watching the most, probably with her facial expressions on the
Yeah.
day.
Yeah, it's fun.
And
the judge is good with just not having.
I was staring at him for the longest time, and it took me about an hour before I realized he has a ponytail.
Yeah, well, he used to have it all out. That was his COVID hair. Like when, or shoot, I said the C word. It's okay. But he hadn't gotten it cut, so then I guess he had gone so long. Everybody's asking him, when are you getting it cut? When are you getting it cut? He said, I'm not.
He said, yeah, he lives in Michigan, like 2 counties over.
Oh, okay. So yeah, he knows. My friend's from Michigan, but I don't think that part of it. Oh, thanks, Badger. Getting rid of what we call porn. We don't know what it is.
Yeah, my phone died, so I couldn't do anything in the chat no more.
Oh.
Yeah, he was doing that today. That's funny.
Yeah. Oh my God. Oh, congratulations. You gave it to me. Wow. I'm so happy for you.
You'll have to share your workout
So
plan with
proud
us.
of you. Yeah, something.
I've been wanting to get back into at least walking every day with the girls or something. Or no.
Oh, I gotta remember to look into that case down here.
The gun case, yeah.
Yeah. No, it's okay. I just, haven't been doing it.
I just barely heard of it.
Oh, Mom. Music City Mom.
Oh.
But yeah, I totally forgot about it because I thought that they had done it. So
Yeah.
I'm going to have to look. Oh, I wonder what the private chat was about. Do you know?
How far is that from you, if you don't mind me asking?
Wesley Chapel is I'm going to say about a 45-minute drive, which is really nothing. It's not even down as far as Tampa.
Because I have a feeling this is going to get some crowds outside the courthouse.
Yeah, well, I want to see if there's any rules about going, because if there's not, but you're not allowed to take pictures and stuff.
Oh, like you couldn't go live outside?
Well, outside, I guess I could, couldn't I?
Yeah. Like in the Rittenhouse trial, that's what everybody was doing.
And then what I can do is hang out with, right near like a TV station that's is going to get stuff, like the big ones.
I have a feeling this is going to be a big
just
case.
happen to stand next to them with my phone.
I have a feeling this is going to be a big case. I really do. I think I heard about it on like Ricada Law or something the other day. Otherwise, I had never heard about it. And it's just barely going to trial. And so he was talking about it. So I had a feeling.
You might have heard about it back 8 years ago. It's one of those things. I mean, because it was scary. I mean, it just, when you hear about it, just went off.
Oh, the detail about the 3-year-old, that I was like, oh man. That's just not cool.
Yeah.
It's like the story I was telling you about when that couple was lit on fire. When I found out it happened in front of their kids, I was like, God, that makes it even worse. Who does that?
Yeah, that's.
I guess in
not
the
good.
world of true crime, nothing should surprise us anymore.
Right. But that would be neat to cover that because it doesn't look like anybody's doing it.
Nope. Nuh-uh. So if they pick the jury today, they'll probably, I'd assume, maybe start trial next week because you don't want to have your jury out too long and risk
Right.
them watching news or anything.
Yeah,
I don't think
I'll
they'd
keep
start
my eye
tomorrow.
on court TV and see because they usually just play stuff over and over again.
Yeah.
So we'll see if there's something on there that I could, start with, and then, when are they going to be there? Maybe go.
Yeah. That'd be cool.
That would be cool. Yeah.
Mhm.
See, that's something, when we were talking about the other one who, where some of them live in Florida,
Mm-hmm.
some of the other creators, they're way down there, like past where Brian Laundrie was, and so that would be one hell of a hike. They're not taking it up here.
No. Hope not.
No, not for this. But it might be something where I could catch a here, guys, charge that phone up and get on it. To get maybe an interview with the guy's wife or something.
Ugh.
Not the guy who did the shooting.
Yeah. Or even just to know at the community, I would love to know that much because I know that's a tough situation right there.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not really. You don't shoot somebody over throwing popcorn at you. And like she said, over text message, is it really worth taking somebody's life over somebody texting in a movie theater?
I just really thought that there was something wrong with him. He had he left the actual theater and went out to tell the manager, left his wife in there, then came back, did the shooting, and then tried to claim. That's why he initially.
That's a good point. So you felt threatened enough that you leave your wife there with him, but then you come back and shoot him?
That's what they were saying. That's why initially it was like, with the stand your ground. No,
If he was so threatening, why would you leave your wife there alone with him?
That's what they said.
I didn't think about that until just now. Oh.
Yeah. All right, everybody. I think 3 hours was good.
Yeah.
That was good. Well, thank you, everybody, for coming. Thank you, Bob. You did great. Thank you for your questions.
Yes,
Deanna, Music City Mom. And
Badger Live.
Here. Badger Live. Who else is here? Anybody still here? Well, there's people, but lurking.
Emily Nab stopped by. Busted Wren. Early.
Yeah. Well, thank you guys so much. And
we'll be back on in the next day or two.
Yeah. Catch you in the next one.
Next one.